Welcome, everyone, to The Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name's Jared Mello, and I'm the Shepherd of Black Sheep. B and Bethany and Lisa, how are you all this evening? Today, we're going to go over that video that I think it was Colleen who said it yesterday, but the Pacemaker video. What can we learn from Nancy Guthrie's Pacemaker information? Was there information that was got in that time between the time the Nest Cam was taken down and the Pacemaker was disconnected? Could be interesting. We'll see. Could be nothing. I think the thumbnail of this video is a little clickbaity. It said, shocking results from Pacemaker info. Meanwhile, I'm not sure exactly what Pacemaker info they got, but we're going to discover it together. But rather than give you all a clickbait thumbnail, I decided to represent it more accurately. Hello there, Miss Kim. How are you? Also, as you all come in here, Shadow and I want to remind you to like the video. Likes are free. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Tomorrow night, being Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, members only live stream. Danielle, how are you? Amen, Danielle. Danielle's on it. DJ Dave, what's shaking? Daily, what's up? Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. I got a good crew in here today. An awesome flock of black sheep. Eccentric, supportive, encouraging. Sometimes night owls. Sometimes from all over the world. Hey there, Jackie. How are you? All good, DJ Dave. I'm living the dream over here. I'm happy that it's getting nicer outside. It was 77 degrees. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. That's my kind of weather. Cold weather, windy and cold, not my friend. Not my friend. Julie, welcome. How are you? As people come in here, remember to like the video. Montana, welcome. I keep on remembering you don't get my Montana reference. French Montana. Giuseppe, welcome. I think we're going to have a great show tonight. Or should I put the, hello there, Warwicky. Should I put the clickbaity thumbnail in there to get more people in here? Let's see. Uh-oh. Need smiles today from me or from yourself? He's saying... Shocking results from Nancy's Pacemaker. It was sunny but drizzly at the same time out here today. In California. Hello there, Jan. Welcome. And again, Tuesday night, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Members only live stream. Shocking results from Nancy's Pacemaker. Unfortunately, they make you play the game here. That's by me, Jan. I'm in South Jersey. Oh, I get you, Jackie. Hello there, rapper. Welcome. We'll let the peeps come on in here. We've only been live for about 4 minutes. Shadow says hello to all of you as well. Shadow is this guy here. Shadow the Night Owl. Spirit animal of the show. Be nice, rapper. Be nice. Let's see. Anything interesting going with you all today? Anything interesting going on? Did you have a good day, bad day? I had a pretty good day today. I hope so too, Danielle. Super chats, super stickers, and becoming a channel member or gifting channel memberships makes Shadow the Night Owl very happy. Also, there's the PayPal and whatever else. PayPal slash Venmo if people want to bypass YouTube's system. Snow Baby, welcome. DJ, I like the cold too. I love warmth in summer, but it causes me too many rashes, skins, ailments. Emphysema. That's no good. That doesn't sound very pleasant, Montana. Not very pleasant at all. Dashing through the snow, welcome. In a one-horse open sleigh. Also, on a side note with Brian Hooker, I think they extended the time that he's going to be held, even though they haven't charged him with his wife's murder. So they're frantically looking for Lynette Hooker's body, but they can't find it. I heard they found her watch, but they haven't found her body. So they're trying to figure out what they can do. Brian Hooker's lawyer's demanding that he gets released. But the Bahamas police, the Royal Bahamas police, they're trying to hold on because once they release him, they release him. Jared, you need a forward for Shadow of like this. It's tricky though because then you can fall over. There we go. It has to be done just right. Was he released? I know they were thinking about detaining him longer, but I think they ran out of time. The deadline was what, 7:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. tonight? Wasn't very good for him, that's all I know. But hey, maybe he's out. But I have a feeling that's not the end of it. Not the end of it. DJ Davis says, no, baby, yeah. I teach military people, and I have a guy that's 7 foot tall. Oh, my Lord. Is that better, Jackie? Now that you can see Shadow's eyes? Hi there, Christy. Welcome. Thank you, Driftwood. I wonder, they're probably not very happy about that. Lynette's family's probably not very happy about that either. Hey there, D. Welcome. Nope, you haven't missed a thing yet. But we're about to jump into the video here. I just wanted to chat with you all for a minute before we begin. Animal, what's up? They were highly intoxicated, totally plausible that she fell out. Yeah, it's plausible. But what's not as plausible is him not even trying to save her. That's the issue, right? I'm not condemning him, but you would have thought he might try to save her. Hello there, Crob. Welcome. Daniel. Yes, Robert, be nice. We have a good community here. Hey there, Shorty. Welcome. Yeah, Bethany, she was trying to, I think, right? Auntie Ray, welcome from Maine. The furthest most east point in America is in Maine. Did you know that? I forget the name of it, but it's pretty cool. Hello there, Tina. Welcome. As you all float in here, Shadow wants me to remind you to like the video because likes are free. Spank that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat here. Ah. Looks like someone got the boot. Who got the boot, Dashin? Eastport, Maine. Isn't there like there's a cool red and white lighthouse, Auntie, which is pretty cool. Not too shabby for 10 minutes in, Dashing, right? That is true, Crob. That is true. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? 1, 2, crunch, 3. I remember that cartoon, Risk. I remember my Saturday morning cartoons. I remember. That's the ticket, Auntie. Quaddy Head. That sounds familiar. They have that pretty cool looking lighthouse, the red and white lighthouse. That's pretty cool. Pamela, welcome. Amen to that, B. Amen to that. So let's see what the Nancy's Pacemaker info has to say for herself. This is, or for itself, this is Crime View, the channel. This video went fairly viral a couple days ago. So people were interested, so let's see what they had to say.
And now investigators are deploying new technology and analyzing other evidence, hoping for a breakthrough to bring Nancy home. Investigators are using a device known as a signal sniffer to try to detect signals from the 84-year-old's pacemaker.
There is a device inside Nancy Guthrie's chest that has been recording everything. Every heartbeat, every movement, every moment of elevated stress, every physiological change her body went through on the night she disappeared. All of it stored, all of it time-stamped, all of it sitting inside a small electronic device implanted in her chest that the FBI has been fighting to decode since the first week of February. And what they've found inside that data is what this video is about. Because here is what most people do not understand about modern pacemakers. They are not just heart regulators. They are not just devices that send an electrical pulse to keep a heart beating in rhythm. Modern pacemakers are data recorders. They log, they timestamp, they track. They sync wirelessly with paired devices. They communicate. They leave a trail of information that in the right hands, with the right tools, can reconstruct a timeline of events that no camera, no witness, and no physical evidence could ever replicate with the same precision. Nancy Guthrie has one of those devices in her chest. And the FBI has spent 68 days trying to read what it recorded on the night of February 1st. Welcome to Crime View. Today we are going into the pacemaker data deeper than any other channel has gone. We are talking about what these devices actually record, what the FBI's Forensic Cardiac Analysis Unit does with that data, what the specific timestamps from Nancy's device tell us about the 41-minute window between 1:47 and 2:28 in the morning, and what the results of the FBI's decoding effort reveal about what happened to Nancy Guthrie in those 41 minutes. This is the video you have been waiting 68 days for. Stay with me all the way through. And if you are not subscribed to Crime View yet, this is the moment. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, because what we are...
And the thing is, right, I don't know how they got any pacemaker data. I don't know if they did, period. But someone was saying yesterday, oh, they found her in Mexico. And I was like, we would be hearing about that if they did. As of now, they didn't.
About to break down is the most technically detailed, most forensically significant development in this entire investigation. What most people got wrong from the beginning. Before we get into the data itself, I need to correct something that has been misreported, misunderstood, or oversimplified in nearly every piece of coverage this case has received since February. And I think it is important because if you have the wrong foundation, you cannot understand the significance of what the FBI actually found. The narrative that emerged early in this case was this: Nancy's pacemaker stopped syncing at 2:28 in the morning, and therefore that is when something happened to her. That is when she was taken. That is when the 41-minute window begins. That is not correct. And understanding why it is not correct is the key to understanding everything the pacemaker data actually reveals. When news outlets...
And to be very clear, as far as I know, there has been no pacemaker data released to the public yet. Unless this video says something that I've never heard before, which I'm leaving open to the possibility it does. But as far as I know, there is no information they've released. And they're not going to do anything with the data until they can actually, unless someone was actually viewing it. Now, that depends on the situation. But we'll see. We'll see what they have to say. I know Bella's on it.
Reported that Nancy's pacemaker stopped syncing at 2:28. What they were describing was the moment the pacemaker stopped communicating with its paired device, most likely a bedside monitoring.
Yeah, Bella, I think he's not talking about after the disconnection. He's talking about data before it. Now, depending on how they had it connected, maybe there's some data they can get, but there might also be no data because maybe it wasn't being transmitted to anything before it got disconnected, right? So we'll have to see. I'm open. I'm curious, and I'm open to what this video has to say. Also, please remember to like the video because likes are free, and they help pay for Shadow the Night Owl's Hootie Snacks, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and say hello to the flock of black sheep here in the live chat. And tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, members only live stream. Becoming a channel member gives you access to that
unit or a smartphone app that Nancy used to track her cardiac data. That sync stopping does not mean the pacemaker stopped working. It does not mean Nancy's heart stopped. It means the Bluetooth or wireless connection between the pacemaker and its paired device was broken. There are several reasons that connection could break. The paired device could have been moved out of range. The pacemaker could have moved out of range of the paired device, meaning Nancy was moved. The paired device could have been powered off or disabled. Or there could have been a physical interference with the signal. But here is what makes this crucial. The pacemaker itself continued recording internally. Even after the sync stopped at 2:28, the device inside Nancy's chest kept doing what pacemakers do. It kept logging. It kept time-stamping. It kept a record of every cardiac event, every arrhythmia, every significant physiological change, every moment her heart rate spiked or dropped outside of normal parameters. That internal record is what the FBI has been working to access. And accessing it is not simple. It is not a matter of plugging in a cable and downloading a file. Modern implanted cardiac devices require specialized proprietary software from the manufacturer to read the internal logs. They require medical expertise to interpret the data correctly. And in a forensic context, they require a chain of custody that preserves the evidentiary value of everything recovered. The FBI does not just have IT analysts working on this. They have forensic cardiologists, cardiac device specialists, manufacturer liaisons. And in cases...
I think the big question, Bella, is what was it transmitting before it was disconnected while it was still connected? Like, did it transmit to anything? Is there a way to read that data before it was disconnected? Is there anyone that can read it? Was it being sent to a hospital? We might not even know the answer to that question because they haven't told us, but it's possible. I mean, that depends. It depends on the arrangement they had, right? But while it's still connected to the transmitter, I'd be curious what they can get from it. Whether you see heart spikes or whatever you see, right?
Where the device manufacturer is not cooperative with immediate disclosure, they have legal tools, including federal subpoenas to compel access. All of that has been happening for 68 days, and the picture that is emerging from that data is more detailed and more disturbing than most people realize. The 41 minutes, what we knew going in. Let me walk you through what we knew about the 41-minute window before the pacemaker data was fully decoded. Because the contrast between what we thought we knew and what the data actually shows is significant. The camera at Nancy's front door was disabled at 1:47 in the morning. We know this from the Google Nest cloud backup footage that survived the suspect's attempt to destroy it. The masked figure, carrying a backpack and a firearm, approached the camera and disabled it at 1:47. That is confirmed. That is on video. Nancy's pacemaker stopped syncing with its paired device at 2:28 in the morning, 41 minutes later. So the question that has hung over this investigation from the very first day is this: what happened in those 41 minutes? The camera was disabled at 1:47. The sync...
Everyone should wish Marina and her mother some good vibes because her mother is having surgery tomorrow, hip replacement. But I had to come by here tonight, tired, but a 9-month journey for my mom finally tomorrow. So send some good vibes Marina's way. Send some good vibes Jackie's way as well. She said she has some anxiety today. So Bella says about the pacemaker, it won't show a rhythm unless... Hey there, Charity, welcome. Unless she is out of rhythm, it is sent in transmission to Medtronic's medical device company, cardio physio team. So it's out of rhythm, there might be something. So there's a possibility then, Bella, that it was out of rhythm. We don't know for sure, I guess, but maybe this video will tell us. You got it, Marina. It's important to me that we look out for the flock of black sheep here. And as the shepherd of black sheep, I find it my responsibility. Oh, for the person who did it, huh, Jackie? Thank you, Autumn Elizabeth. I know they appreciate it. So let's see, Belle. I'll be curious. I'll be curious what this video has to say.
Stopped at 2:28. That window is 41 minutes of complete darkness in terms of external surveillance. No camera footage, no cell phone data because Nancy's phone was left behind. No GPS data from a vehicle she owned. No witness accounts from neighbors. 41 minutes of nothing from external sources, but not from the pacemaker. The pacemaker was recording through all 41 of those minutes. Every second, every heartbeat, every physiological response Nancy's body generated in response to whatever was happening around her and to her during that window. And when the FBI's forensic cardiac specialists began decoding the internal logs of that device, what they found inside those 41 minutes painted a picture that no external evidence could have provided. How pacemaker forensics actually works. I want to spend some real time explaining the forensic process here, because I think a lot of people hear the phrase pacemaker data and think it is like pulling a file off a computer. It is not. And understanding the process helps you understand why it took weeks to get results, and why those results carry the evidentiary weight that they do. Modern cardiac implantable electronic devices, which is the technical category that includes pacemakers, record data in what are called device memory logs. These logs store information about every cardiac event the device detects and responds to. Every time the device delivers a pacing pulse, that is logged. Every time it detects an arrhythmia, that is logged with a timestamp. Every time the heart rate exceeds or drops below programmed threshold parameters, that is logged. Every significant physiological event that the device is designed to monitor is timestamped and stored in the internal memory. The level of detail in these logs is extraordinary. Cardiac device manufacturers design these logs specifically to give cardiologists a detailed, retrospective picture of a patient's cardiac health over time. In a medical context, this data is used to adjust medications, modify device settings, and identify patterns that require intervention. In a forensic context, this same data becomes a timeline of physiological events that can be cross-referenced against a criminal investigation. To access this data from an implanted device without the patient present and cooperative, the FBI has several options depending on the device manufacturer and model. The most direct route is working with the manufacturer's forensic liaison team. Every major cardiac device manufacturer, including Medtronic, Abbott, Boston Scientific, and others, has established protocols for working with law enforcement in cases where device data is sought for investigative purposes. These manufacturers have proprietary software.
See that, Bella? They mentioned your company, the Medtronics, and they mentioned a couple others too.
Called programmers that can wirelessly interrogate an implanted device and download its full internal memory. In a clinical setting, this is done with the patient lying on an exam table. In a forensic setting, it is more complicated. If the patient is accessible, the download takes minutes. If the patient is not accessible, investigators must use other methods. And that is the core challenge in this case. Nancy is missing. The pacemaker is inside her. The FBI cannot simply ask her to come in for a device interrogation session. They have to work with what they have. What they have is the data that's synced to Nancy's paired monitoring device before the sync broke at 2:28. That data, which includes everything recorded and transmitted up to that moment, was preserved on the paired device and potentially in the device manufacturer's cloud monitoring system, which many modern pacemakers sync to automatically through a home monitoring base unit. The cloud monitoring data is where the FBI focused first, and it is where they found the most significant results.
And again, as far as I know, we've heard nothing about the results or any data it picked up before the pacemaker was disconnected. But again, I'm open to being surprised in this video.
The cloud data. What survived the sync cutoff? Here is something that has been underreported in almost every piece of coverage this case has received. Modern pacemakers do not just sync with a bedside device or a smartphone app. Many models sync continuously with a manufacturer's cloud monitoring platform through a home base unit that is plugged into the wall like any other appliance. Nancy Guthrie had such a system. Her cardiac device was connected to a home.
So did you hear that? While it's still connected to the device at home, it's uploading to a cloud. So that would be fascinating what you find on that up until the point that it's disconnected. Don't you think? I think so.
Home monitoring unit in her bedroom that transmitted her pacemaker data to the manufacturer's cloud platform at regular intervals, in some cases in near real time. This means that even though the Bluetooth sync between her pacemaker and her paired device stopped at 228, a more complete record of her cardiac data, including data from before 228, was already in the manufacturer's cloud system. And that cloud data does not disappear when the sync ends. It stays in the cloud, time-stamped, preserved. The FBI subpoenaed that cloud data within the first week of the investigation. The manufacturer complied.
So the FBI subpoenaed the information from the cloud. News to me, if that happened.
And the forensic cardiac analysis that followed is what has produced the most significant findings in this case. Now, I want to be careful here about the difference between what has been officially confirmed publicly and what has been reported through investigative journalism and law enforcement sourcing. Because the FBI has not held a press conference and laid out the pacemaker data findings in plain language. That is not how federal investigations work. What we know comes from three sources. First, public statements from law enforcement that reference the pacemaker data in ways that reveal what they found significant. Second, retired forensic cardiac experts and former FBI agents who have analyzed the publicly available information and provided their professional assessments. And third, investigative reporting from outlets that have sourced information from people familiar with the investigation. Put all three of those together, and the picture that emerges is the one we are going to walk through right now. The cardiac timeline. What the data shows. Let me take you through the cardiac timeline that the FBI's forensic analysis of Nancy's pacemaker data has produced. And I want to walk through it moment by moment, because each segment of this timeline tells a different part of the story. The evening of January 31st begins normally. Nancy spends the evening at her daughter Annie's home. She has dinner with Annie and Annie's husband, Tommaso. Her cardiac data during this period shows completely normal baseline activity. A resting heart rate appropriate for her age, no arrhythmias, no significant events.
So this is where I'm curious where he got this information from. Was this released somewhere? This cloud data? I don't know. I don't know if they're making it up or there's data out there somewhere. I'm also not ruling it out that they have data, law enforcement, that they haven't told us yet. That could definitely be true too. So I'm just unsure. I am unsure.
Just a woman having dinner with her family. Tommaso drives Nancy home at 9:50 in the evening. The drive takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes.
So Deb, a viewer yesterday, told me about this video. So I said, okay, we'll give it a look. We'll see what it has to say for itself. Shadow said, why not? Why not? It could be interesting. So that's what we're doing. But Shadow also says to remember to like the video while you're here. Likes are free. Spank that like button if you're feeling frisky, or leave your DNA of choice on the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And remember, members only live stream tomorrow, which is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Becoming a member gives you access, and also super chats and super stickers are great ways to support the channel and get questions answered. They all help me buy hoodie snacks for Shadow the Night Owl here. So, and again, thank you very much for all the support I've been getting so far.
During this time, her cardiac data continues to show normal baseline levels. She arrives home. The garage door closes behind her at approximately 10:10. And here is where the first anomaly appears in the data. Approximately 45 minutes to an hour after Nancy arrived home, at some point between 10:50 and 11:30 in the evening, her heart rate shows a brief elevation above her normal resting baseline. Not a dramatic spike, not an arrhythmia, just a measurable increase in heart rate that lasted for a few minutes and then returned to baseline. Forensic cardiologists who have been consulted on this pattern describe it as consistent with a stress response. The kind of brief cardiac elevation you might see when someone hears an unexpected noise, sees something unexpected, or has a brief moment of anxiety or alertness. It is not conclusive. It could.
And to be clear, this definitely could be clickbait, but it got 100,000 views, so people are paying attention to it. So I thought it was our responsibility to do it, to give it a once over, to see, okay, what's legit here and what's not quite accurate. As of right now, I don't know where he's pulling this data from. Where did he see any heart rate data while she was at Annie and Tommaso's? Where did he see it? So far, I don't think he said it specifically. I don't think there was a reading somewhere, but that's what I'm unclear on right now.
Be explained by many things. Nancy getting up to get a glass of water, a noise outside, a dog barking, something on television. But it is there, and it is time-stamped. And it is the first data point in a cardiac timeline that becomes significantly more dramatic as the night progresses. Between 11:30 and approximately 1:30 in the morning, Nancy's cardiac data shows relatively stable patterns consistent with rest. Cardiologists reviewing the data describe it as consistent with a sleep pattern, though not definitively deep sleep. The heart rate is lowered, the rhythm is regular, the device is recording without any significant events. Then, between 1:40 and 1:50
So in the chat, let me know what you're confused about, and I'll try to decipher it and make it more clear. Now, the one thing that I don't know the answer to is where he's getting this information from. As far as I know, it hasn't been released to the public. So if that's an area causing confusion, I can understand, because I don't know where he got it from. Hopefully he's not making it up. I hope he's not doing that.
the morning, the data changes. In the same window that the doorbell camera footage shows the masked figure approaching the property and disabling the camera, Nancy's pacemaker data shows a significant cardiac event. Her heart rate elevates sharply. The elevation is dramatic and sudden, consistent with an acute stress response, consistent with fear, consistent with the physiological reaction a person has when they are startled awake by an intruder. The pacemaker logs this event precisely. The timestamp on the cardiac elevation and the timestamp on the camera being disabled, 147, are within the same narrow window. That correlation is not a coincidence. That is the pacemaker recording Nancy Guthrie's physiological response to the moment her abduction began. The 41 minutes, what the pacemaker recorded inside them. Now we get to the 41 minutes. The window between 147, when the camera went dark, and 228, when the sync stopped. The window that has been the center of this entire investigation. The pacemaker data from inside those 41 minutes is the most significant forensic finding in this case, and I want to walk through it carefully.
So let's see if he explains himself here. But a couple things to note. Pacemakers do not have a GPS tracker. You could argue they should, but at this point they do not. So get that idea out of your head that they're going to be able to find her via her pacemaker, right? They had that signal sweeper thing, but that signal sweeper thing needs to be very close, right? Within what, 30 yards to be able to pick it up? That's one. Megyn Kelly had reported previously that if she died, the pacemaker could report that. And now there'd be a notification about that. She says, while the data shows a disconnection time, experts note that if the device recorded a significant event, such as her heart stopping, that information would likely be captured, Megyn Kelly reported. That is only true before the pacemaker was disconnected. So if she was killed before it was disconnected, That information might be somewhere. So again, though, that doesn't say anything about what he's saying now. So let's see what he says, though.
Elevated heart rate that begins around 147 does not drop immediately. It stays elevated for a sustained period. The cardiac specialist analysis of this pattern describes it as consistent with sustained acute stress, consistent with a person who has been frightened and remains frightened, consistent with the physiological state of someone who is being actively threatened, restrained, or moved against their will. The heart rate does not show the pattern of brief elevation followed by return to baseline that you would see from a simple startle response. It shows sustained elevation, minutes of it, which tells investigators that whatever triggered the initial spike at 147 was not a brief event. It was an ongoing situation.
I could have sworn previously we had heard someone saying 30 feet or the number 30 was involved, and they were going to do a signal sweep like close to the ground in a helicopter or something. I could have sworn we heard that.
Within the 41-minute window, the data shows multiple distinct phases. The first phase, roughly the first 15 minutes following the camera being disabled, shows the sustained elevated heart rate with irregular rhythm variations. The rhythm variations are significant because the pacemaker logs them as arrhythmia events. Not dangerous arrhythmias in the clinical sense, but rhythm irregularities that cardiologists associate with extreme emotional distress. The second phase, beginning approximately 15 to 20 minutes into the window, shows a pattern that forensic cardiologists describe as movement-correlated cardiac variation. Modern pacemakers with accelerometer technology, which measures physical movement and adjusts pacing rate accordingly, can effectively record when a patient is moving, how vigorously they are moving, and in some cases, the general nature of the movement. A pacemaker worn by someone who is being physically carried or transported will show different accelerometer correlated patterns than one worn by someone who is walking voluntarily.
Oh, Bella, we're talking about different things then, Bella. I'm talking about they were trying to find her body using the signal sweeper, the thing that was going to just pick up on the pacemaker, not transmitting any data. They just had this device that they were going to try to find her body. And that thing was something that Brian Etten reported on. So yeah, we're talking about something different, Bella.
Or lying still. The data from this phase of the 41 minutes shows patterns consistent with passive movement, not voluntary walking, not Nancy moving herself through her house. The accelerometer data suggests Nancy was being moved, carried, or transported by someone else. The third phase, in the final 10 to 15 minutes before the sync stops at 228, shows a cardiac pattern that is the most clinically significant finding in the entire data set. The heart rate, which had been elevated throughout most of the 41 minutes, begins to show a specific type of variability that forensic cardiologists associate with sedation or loss of consciousness.
So again, this is the area where he needs to cite his source. Where did you get this? Did you find it in a cloud somehow? Who reported it? Did the FBI report it? Did local law enforcement report it? Where did you hear it? But he's not citing his source, so I can't vouch for this information here.
Not cardiac arrest, not death. The heart continues beating, the pacemaker continues functioning, but the variability pattern, the natural beat-to-beat variation that a conscious person's heart shows, begins to decrease. Decreased heart rate variability, in this context, is clinically significant. It is the pattern a heart shows when the central nervous system's normal regulatory influence on cardiac function is reduced, when someone is deeply sedated, unconscious, or has been administered a substance that affects consciousness. The sync stops at 228. At that point, no more data reaches the cloud platform. The internal device continues recording after 228, but that internal data is inside Nancy, inside a device that can only be accessed when she is found. what the data tells us about how Nancy was taken. The cardiac timeline I just walked you through gives investigators something they have never had before in a case like this: a physiological reconstruction of the abduction. Not a witness account, not a neighbor.
So, chat, to be very clear, I don't think anything that he just said about that data has been confirmed. If it is, point me in the direction of where it was. Point me in the direction of who said it, and I'll gladly look at it or listen to it. But as of right now, I hate to say it, but I think they made it up.
Neighbor's guess, not a theory, a physiological reconstruction built from the recordings of Nancy's own heart. And here is what that reconstruction tells us. Nancy was awake when the abduction began. The acute stress response at 1:47 is the response of a conscious person who is suddenly frightened. This is not the cardiac pattern of someone who is taken while deeply asleep without awareness. Nancy was aware of what was happening at the beginning of those 41 minutes. The sustained elevated heart rate and rhythm irregularities through the first 15 to 20 minutes tell us that whatever happened in those minutes was frightening and ongoing. She was not calmed. She was not sedated immediately. She was experiencing acute, sustained fear for an extended period. The movement-correlated accelerometer data tells us that at some point in the middle of the 41 minutes, Nancy was no longer moving under her own power. She was being transported. This is consistent with the theory that she was placed into a vehicle at some point during the 41-minute window, before the sync stopped at 2:28. And the final phase.
And Charity, that's a good point too. Sometimes things like this can be leaked. That's also true. That happens. There's a lot of leaks out there. But yes, please remember to like the video. Shadow wants me to remind you all, because he's hungry. He needs his hootie snacks. So spank the like button and leave your DNA on the like button. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And remember, members only live stream tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Cobra always reminds me of G.I. Joe. Now you know G.I. Joe. Oki, any sound waves? Oki, I think they made it up, to be honest.
Data. The decreased heart rate variability pattern in the last 10 to 15 minutes before the sync stopped tells us something that investigators have been extremely careful about in their public statements. It tells us that by the time the sync stopped, Nancy's physiological state had changed significantly from her state at the beginning of the window. The clinical interpretation of that final phase data is the most sensitive finding in this entire analysis, and it is the finding that law enforcement has been most guarded about discussing publicly. The sedation question: what investigators believe. Let me address this directly, because it has been circling the edges of this investigation for weeks, and I think it deserves a clear, honest, fact-grounded discussion. The pacemaker data from the final portion of the 41-minute window is consistent with pharmacological sedation. That is the clinical language. Pharmacological sedation means a drug-induced alteration of consciousness.
But this brings about a different discussion here too. Like, this is a video on YouTube that was posted a day or two ago. Over 100,000 views, but people don't call it out. They don't say, hey, bud, where did you get this information? Where is this information coming from that this data looks like she's under sedation? Where are you getting this from? Because we haven't heard it. So it's important to go over, even if we don't think it's accurate. Just simply to call it out if he's making it up, right? That's important too. Because BS gets enabled when you don't call it out.
Something administered to Nancy by injection, inhalation, or ingestion that reduced her level of consciousness in the final minutes before the sync stopped. The significance of this finding for the investigation is enormous. First, it tells us that whoever took Nancy came prepared. You do not accidentally have sedatives on your person. You plan for them. You acquire them. You bring them. The presence of a sedating agent in this abduction, if the cardiac data interpretation is correct, tells us that the planning for this operation included pharmacological preparation. This is not opportunistic crime.
Inspector, we need Inspector Gadget on the case with his little computer book, Penny in the computer book, and then the self-destructing messages that Inspector Gadget would always get by Chief Quimby, and everyone's favorite Dr. Claw with his cat. Excellent. Maybe Shadow the Night Owl is like my cat to Dr. Claw.
This is deeply premeditated, logistically sophisticated, professionally executed criminal operation. Second, it tells us something important about Nancy's condition at the time the sync stopped. She was not dead at 2:28 in the morning. The cardiac patterns showing sedation are not the patterns of cardiac arrest or death. The heart was beating. The pacemaker was functioning. The patterns are consistent with someone who is unconscious or deeply sedated, but alive. Third, it tells investigators what to look for in terms of evidence. If a sedative was administered, there may be physical evidence at the scene. Injection marks, a syringe, a particular odor, chemical residue. Forensic toxicology of any biological material left at the scene could potentially identify the specific compound used, and the identity of that compound could in turn narrow the field of who had access to it. Fourth, and I think most significantly for the investigation's current direction, the type of sedation that produces the cardiac pattern seen in the data has a specific profile. It is not something available at any pharmacy. The compounds that produce this type of rapid onset sedation with the cardiac signature visible in the pacemaker data.
I actually don't think this voice is AI. I think this person might actually be reading this. But again, it might be AI too. Yesterday's video was definitely AI. The one we went over for a little bit. That one definitely was. This guy might be reading this, but I'm not sure. And he might get in trouble too, honestly. Like Bella said, falsifying medical records, that's not too good. Or claiming medical records that are not accurate, you might get yourself in trouble that way. And that's why we're calling it out. We're not endorsing these findings in any way on this channel. Don't get that twisted. We are not endorsing. We are calling out. We are calling out things that we don't think are accurate. Big difference.
Are controlled substances, medical grade compounds, the kind of substances that leave a procurement trail, a prescription trail, a hospital or pharmacy acquisition trail. Someone who obtained what was used on Nancy Guthrie that night did not buy it at a grocery store. And the FBI knows that. And that procurement trail, wherever it leads, is one of the most significant investigative threads currently being followed.
The GPS question. Can the pacemaker tell us where she went?
I know this is the question many of you have been building to since the beginning of this video. Can the pacemaker data tell us where Nancy was taken? The honest answer is nuanced.
The honest answer is no. No, you're not going to be able to find it because there's no GPS in her pacemaker. The only way you can get around this question is if you do that signal sweep thing that Brian Etten was reporting. And you have to be super close to it for that signal sweep thing to even pick up on it. So close that you almost have to be tripping over her, but 30 feet away. I think that's what Brian Etten said. But that's the only way that they can be found that way. But that being said, if you can do a signal sweeper, and some days, username some days, real name Reagan, was saying yesterday, and she's a forensics person, she thinks Nancy's within 10 miles of the home. So if you did a grid search in a 10 by 10 mile section, yeah, it's a pretty big section, but why not try? Why not try to do a sweepers in that area? Let the Cajun Navy do it. Let other volunteer groups do it and see what you come up with. Worst case is you do it and then come up with nothing and nothing's been lost, right? So why not try that, in my opinion? Also, please remember to like the video. Likes are free. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and say hello to the flock of black sheep here in the live chat. Awesome group of people here. I'm trying to recruit more members of the flock of black sheep from my other followings. I haven't done that very much. I've tried to keep them separate, but I want to bring the people from Instagram and Facebook and TikTok over here.
And I want to give you the honest answer rather than the sensational one. Modern pacemakers do not have built-in GPS. They are not tracking devices in the way a phone or a car's navigation system is. They cannot transmit real-time location coordinates. The data they record is cardiac and physiological, not geographic. However, the accelerometer data in the pacemaker logs, which records physical movement and its characteristics, can, in some circumstances, provide information about the type of movement the patient was experiencing, the duration of sustained movement, the rhythmic patterns of vehicle travel, the vibration signatures of different types of terrain and transportation. Forensic analysis of accelerometer data from cardiac devices has been used in a small number of legal cases to provide information about a patient's physical activity history. It is not GPS. It is not a map, but it is data. And in the hands of the right specialists, that data can provide meaningful constraints on where Nancy might have been taken and how long the journey took. The pacemaker data shows sustained physical movement beginning in the middle of the 41-minute window, as I described earlier. The duration and character of that movement, based on the accelerometer logs, is consistent with vehicle transportation, not walking, not being dragged across a room. The pattern is consistent with being placed in a vehicle that then traveled for a period. The movement data continues up to the point where the sync stops at 2:28. At that point, 41 minutes after the camera was disabled and the abduction began, the vehicle had been traveling for approximately 15 to 20 minutes, based on the movement window in the data. 15 to 20 minutes of vehicle travel from Nancy's home in the Catalina foothills, at the speeds accessible on the highway routes south of Tucson in the middle of the night. That travel radius puts the vehicle anywhere from 12 to 25 miles from Nancy's home at the moment the sync stopped. That geographic radius, 12 to 25 miles in all directions from the Catalina foothills, is now a primary focus of the investigation's spatial analysis. And when you overlay that radius on a map, certain corridors become immediately significant. The interstate route south toward Rio Rico and the Mexican border falls within that radius. Within 15 to 20 minutes of highway travel from Nancy's home, heading south, a vehicle could reach the northern outskirts of the area where law enforcement conducted its February 10th operation. That is not a coincidence, and investigators know it. The Bluetooth detection effort, active to this day. Now let us talk about something that most people know about in broad terms, but have not fully understood in terms of what it means for this investigation. the FBI's effort to detect Nancy's pacemaker Bluetooth signal. Modern pacemakers emit a low-power Bluetooth signal when they are in proximity to a compatible reader device. This signal is used by the home monitoring base unit to collect and transmit data to the manufacturer's cloud platform. The signal has a relatively short range, typically 15 to 30 feet, though this varies by device model and environmental conditions. Within days of Nancy's disappearance, the FBI deployed specialized equipment designed to detect this type of low-power Bluetooth signal. The equipment is essentially a sophisticated receiver that can identify the specific Bluetooth signature of Nancy's device model and manufacturer, allowing investigators to search an area for any signal that matches her pacemaker's profile. This sounds like it should be a straightforward solution. If Nancy is alive and her pacemaker is functioning, walk around with the detector until you get a hit. Simple. Except it is not simple at all. The range.
So Bella, I want you to answer this if you know the answer. He never mentioned explosions pacers can cause. How do they explode? And so why do they need to be removed before someone is buried? What is the mechanism for an explosion? I am very curious about that. Hello there, Mike. Welcome.
The range of the signal is short, very short. Detection requires the search equipment to be within approximately 15 to 30 feet of Nancy's body to register a signal. And if Nancy is inside a building, underground, in a vehicle, or in any environment that provides shielding between her and the detector, the signal may not reach the detector, even from within that range. To have any realistic chance of detecting her signal, investigators need to search the right geographic area. And the right geographic area, in a case where the person could be anywhere within hundreds of miles, is an enormous challenge.
This is where the pacemaker data analysis becomes directly connected to the detection effort.
The accelerometer and cardiac data analysis, which constrains Nancy's probable location at the time the sync stopped to a radius of 12 to 25 miles from her home, gives the detection team a prioritized search zone. Instead of searching randomly, they can focus their detection efforts on the areas most consistent with what the cardiac data tells them about the vehicle's travel distance and direction. Law enforcement has been conducting detection sweeps in specific geographic areas based on this analysis. The details of exactly where those sweeps have focused are not public. They should not be public. If Nancy is in one of those locations and the search approach is disclosed prematurely, the people holding her would move. But the sweeps are happening. They have been happening since the first week of February, and they continue today. The manufacturer.
So he says they're doing signal sweeps looking for this. If that's going on, we're not hearing much about it, right? We're not hearing much about it at all.
Who made the device and what they know. I want to spend some time on the device manufacturer angle because I think it is significantly underreported in the public coverage of this case. The specific manufacturer and model of Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker has not been publicly confirmed. This is intentional on the part of investigators because the manufacturer's capabilities and the specific data logging features of the device are part of the forensic picture that investigators do not want to fully disclose. What we do know from general reporting is that Nancy's device included cloud monitoring capability, meaning it was connected to a home base unit that transmitted data to the manufacturer's servers at regular intervals. This is a feature offered by all major cardiac device manufacturers. The FDA requires certain data transmission standards for devices marketed in the United States, and modern monitoring systems are
I don't know what you're talking about, Snow Baby. What are you fourth time questioning the exploitation topic with no response? What are you talking about? What exploitation topic? I have not seen you say anything about this.
Sophisticated. The major manufacturers of implantable cardiac devices that include this level of data logging and monitoring capability include several large medical technology companies whose monitoring platforms store data in secure cloud environments. Each of these companies has a legal and compliance team that handles law enforcement requests for data access. Each of them has established protocols for responding to federal subpoenas. The FBI
Also, to note, everyone has to understand, I don't see every single message that comes into the chat. Like, I'm trying to listen, come up with things to say, and interact at the same time. In the course of doing that, I don't see everything. So, just to let you know.
FBI's subpoena for Nancy's pacemaker cloud data was issued early in the investigation. The manufacturer complied. And the forensic team's analysis of that data is what has produced the cardiac timeline I described earlier in this video. But the manufacturer's role does not end with providing the stored data. Because the same cloud monitoring platform that stored Nancy's pre-sync data also has the ability to detect and log any future sync events if Nancy's pacemaker ever comes back into range of a home monitoring unit or a clinical programmer. This is a critical point. If Nancy's pacemaker is ever interrogated by a clinical device, if she is brought to a hospital, if a clinician with a device programmer gets close enough to her pacemaker to perform a download, that event would be logged. The manufacturer would know. And under the terms of the FBI's ongoing legal process with the manufacturer, that notification would reach investigators. This is one of the reasons why, if the people who took Nancy have any understanding of how these devices work, they would be very careful about allowing her anywhere near a medical facility. Because the moment a clinical programmer touches her pacemaker, law enforcement gets a notification. What the data means for the "she's dead" claim. I want to connect the pacemaker data analysis. If a clinician with a device programmer gets close enough to her pacemaker to perform a download, that event would be logged. The manufacturer would.
I'm not so sure about this, by the way. That's why I rewinded it a minute. I don't know if this is true, what he's saying right here.
No. And under the terms of the FBI's ongoing legal process with the manufacturer, that notification would reach investigators. This is one of the reasons why, if the people who took Nancy have any understanding of how these devices work, they would be very careful about allowing her anywhere near a medical facility. Because the moment a clinical programmer touches her pacemaker, law enforcement gets a notification. What the data means for the "she's dead" claim.
No, Snoop. I was asking her about the explosions things too, and you're right. She did not answer as far as I know. But I am curious, why can't you bury someone with a pacemaker? How does the mechanism of explosions, how would it explode? What's the mechanism? I am curious about that. Well, and I'll look it up. I'll look it up on ChatGPT too.
I want to connect the pacemaker data analysis directly to the note that arrived at TMZ claiming Nancy Guthrie is dead, because I think the data provides a very specific and very important context for evaluating that claim. As I discussed in our previous video, on April 6th, day 65 of this investigation, someone sent 2 notes to TMZ. The first note claimed Nancy was dead. The second, from the same sender, on the same morning, claimed they saw her alive in Sonora, Mexico. Retired FBI agents called the notes fraudulent. The Bitcoin wallet associated with the demands received 0 transactions. The contradiction between the 2 notes in the same communication window was the most obvious red flag. But here is what the pacemaker data adds to that analysis. The cardiac data from the 41-minute window shows that Nancy was alive and her pacemaker was functioning at 2:28 in the morning of February 1st.
Okay, here's ChatGPT's answer. Pacemakers are usually removed before burial, mainly for safety and environmental reasons, especially if cremation is involved. Explosion risk during cremation. That makes sense. Pacemakers contain a battery, often lithium-based. If a body is cremated with a pacemaker still inside, the heat can cause the device to explode, which can damage cremation equipment, put workers at risk, disrupt the cremation process. This is the biggest reason they're removed. Safety and handling concerns. Even outside cremation, pacemakers are pressurized electronic devices. While burial itself is generally safe, many funeral homes still remove them as a precaution and for standardized handling procedures. And then there's also environmental considerations. Pacemakers contain metals, chemicals from the battery. Removing them prevents those materials from potentially leaching into the soil over time, although this is a smaller concern compared to cremation safety. And then there's the potential for reuse or donation. In some cases, removed pacemakers can be recycled for parts or donation to programs that refurbish devices for use in low-resource countries. Bottom line, cremation equals must remove explosion risk. Burial equals often removed as a precaution, but not always strictly required. Makes sense. So Shadow wants me to remind you all to like the video because likes are free. Spank that like button or leave your DNA of choice on the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And remember, I go live a little bit after 10 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 6 nights a week usually, to talk about true crime and current events.
The data shows sustained cardiac activity, elevated but functioning through the entire 41-minute window. The sync stopped at 2:28, not because Nancy's heart stopped, but because the wireless connection between her device and the monitoring system was broken, most likely because she was in a vehicle moving away from her home monitoring base unit, or because the base unit was disabled by the people who took her. This is critical. The pacemaker data does not show cardiac arrest at 2:28. It does not show the device entering a post-mortem non-pacing mode. It shows a functioning heart in a significantly altered physiological state, most consistent with pharmacological sedation, at the moment the cloud sync broke. Nancy Guthrie was almost certainly alive at 2:28 in the morning of February 1st. What happened after 2:28 is what the internal device logs would tell us if investigators could access them. And those logs are only accessible when Nancy is found. The TMZ note claiming she is dead is inconsistent with what the pacemaker data shows at the...
Now, here's another interesting point, though. If the video is AI or faceless, can you get sued from that? If someone's anonymous, can you sue an anonymous person? And if so, have you ever seen it? I don't think I've seen it, but I know there's plenty of faceless channels. I see them, people like Too Lazy to Try or Podcast Cringe, faceless channels that they get close to really upsetting some people, and I wonder if they can be sued. And chat, maybe this is another question for ChatGPT.
last moment of recorded data. That does not prove she is currently alive. 68 days have passed since that last data point. But it does tell us that the person writing those notes to TMZ is not working from knowledge of the pacemaker data. They do not have access to what the device recorded. They are guessing. And their guess is inconsistent with the most medically rigorous evidence this investigation has produced. The defense attorney angle. What this data means for prosecution. Let me shift perspective for a moment and talk about what the pacemaker data means from a prosecution standpoint. Because understanding how this evidence would be used in court.
So here's the answer. You can sue an anonymous person, but you start the case differently and use the court to uncover who they are. Aha! Here's how it typically works. File a lawsuit against a John Doe. If you don't know the person's identity, you can still file John Doe or Jane Doe as the defendant. Describe them as specifically as possible, e.g. the person who posted X on platform on date. This officially opens the case and gives you access to legal tools. Use subpoenas to identify them. Once the case is filed, your attorney can ask the court to issue subpoenas to social media platforms like Facebook or YouTube, email providers, internet service providers. These subpoenas can request IP addresses, account registration info, and login records. This is called, drumroll please, unmasking the defendant. Court approval is required. Courts don't allow this lightly. You usually must show a legitimate legal claim, defamation, harassment, fraud, etc. Provide some evidence the wrongdoing actually happened. Prove you've tried reasonable ways to identify them already. Courts balance your right to pursue a claim, their right to anonymous speech, protected under the First Amendment. Amend the lawsuit once identified. After you learn who they are, you update and amend the complaint with their real name. Then proceed like a normal lawsuit, serve them, go to court, etc. So we're learning a bunch here tonight about the legal system. How about that?
Helps you understand why the FBI has been so methodical about its handling. Pacemaker data has been used as evidence in criminal proceedings in the United States. It is a relatively recent development in forensic medicine, but there is established precedent. In 2018, an Ohio man was convicted of arson and insurance fraud, partly on the basis of pacemaker data that contradicted his account of the night his house burned down. The data showed he was physically active during the time he claimed to be asleep. His own heart gave him away. In Nancy Guthrie's case, the pacemaker data establishes several things that would be significant in a prosecution.
By the way, this music reminds me of Glengarry Ross, the movie. I've seen that movie free on YouTube recently, and this music reminds me of the score in that film. And the rain.
First, it documents that Nancy experienced acute physical distress during the 41-minute window. Second, it provides time-stamped physiological evidence consistent with the presence of a third party, the person or persons who took her. Third, the sedation pattern, if confirmed by additional analysis, would support charges related to the administration of a controlled substance. The sedation evidence is particularly significant from a prosecution standpoint. Administering a sedative to a victim during an abduction adds additional criminal charges in most federal and
Alec Baldwin's character, put that down! Coffee is for closers. When I used to be a salesman, a roof salesman, and a door-to-door salesman, Glengarry Ross was kind of like a cult favorite. Underground classic, great cast, by the way. Al Pacino, Kevin Spacey, Alec Baldwin. The frick's his name? The guy from Westworld, whose name I can't remember. And the older guy, one of his best performances, by the way. Jack. Jack who? What was his last name? I can't remember.
State jurisdictions. It speaks to premeditation and planning, and it narrows the profile of the perpetrator because acquiring and administering medical-grade sedating compounds requires access, knowledge, and a procurement trail. Prosecutors working with this kind of cardiac data will need to establish the chain of custody for the device records, present expert testimony from forensic cardiologists who can explain the data in terms a jury can understand, and connect the physiological record to the physical evidence at the scene. All of that groundwork is being laid right now by the FBI, by federal prosecutors in the District of Arizona, and by the forensic cardiac specialists who have been working this data for 68 days. The second device, something nobody has talked about. I want to tell you about something that has received almost no attention in any public coverage of this case. And it is something that could be as significant as the pacemaker data itself. Nancy Guthrie, at age 84, and in her overall health condition, was almost certainly wearing or carrying at least one additional connected health monitoring device on the night she disappeared. Beyond the pacemaker, elderly individuals with cardiac conditions and limited mobility frequently use multiple health monitoring technologies in addition to their implanted cardiac device. Home blood pressure monitors with Bluetooth connectivity, continuous glucose monitors in diabetic patients, fall detection devices, medical alert wearables, remote patient monitoring devices prescribed by physicians. Any of these devices, if Nancy was wearing or had in proximity on the night of February 1st, would have generated its own data record, its own time-stamped log of physiological events, its own wireless transmission record showing when it last communicated with a paired device or cloud platform. The FBI's forensic team has not publicly disclosed what additional devices were present in Nancy's home or what additional monitoring data they have been able to access beyond the pacemaker cloud data. The deliberate silence on this point suggests either that no additional relevant devices were present or that
And to be clear, again, I want to reiterate this because I don't want to be spreading misinformation and disinformation. I have no idea where he's getting that information from the cloud. I don't think it's been reported. I tend to think he might have made it up. But as far as I know, there's no confirmation of that data. So he was saying, for example, oh, the data looks like she was sedated. It's like, well, if that was really what happened, we would know it. We would know because that would be pretty big news, right? But we have not heard that. So leads me to believe he made it up.
additional device data exists and is being protected as active investigative evidence. Given that Nancy was under ongoing medical care for cardiac issues, significant enough to warrant an implanted pacemaker, and given the general level of connected health technology available and commonly used by patients in her situation, the latter possibility deserves serious consideration. If additional device data exists, it would supplement the pacemaker cardiac timeline with additional physiological and potentially movement data. It would create a more complete forensic picture of those 41 minutes, and it would give prosecutors additional evidence streams to work with when charges are ultimately filed. The FBI knows exactly what devices were in that house. They conducted a forensic sweep of the property in the first days of the investigation. Every electronic device, every paired monitor, every Bluetooth-enabled appliance was cataloged. And the data from every one of those devices is part of the investigative record that has been building for 68 days. The clock is ticking. Why device battery matters. There is a time-sensitive dimension to the pacemaker situation that I think is important to discuss directly and honestly. Implanted pacemakers run on batteries. Those batteries are long-lasting, typically 5 to 15 years, depending on the device model and how actively it is pacing. But they are not infinite, and they are not rechargeable in the traditional sense. When a pacemaker battery reaches the end of its service life, the device requires surgical replacement. Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker has been functioning continuously since she disappeared 68 days ago. If her device was not near its replacement window before the abduction, the battery situation is not an immediate concern. But if her device was approaching or within its recommended replacement window, the situation becomes more urgent. More immediately relevant is the following. Even with a battery nowhere near depletion, the pacemaker's ability to pace effectively depends on other factors beyond just the battery. The integrity of the leads connecting the device to the heart, the stability of the device's position in the body. In a patient who has experienced the kind of physical stress that Nancy's cardiac data suggests she experienced in those 41 minutes, lead stability is a legitimate clinical concern. Investigators and medical advisors working with the FBI on this case are acutely aware of the medical urgency layer overlaid on top of the investigative urgency. Finding Nancy is not just about answers and justice. It is about finding someone whose medical condition requires ongoing clinical attention and whose primary cardiac device is functioning without medical oversight in an unknown environment. Every day that passes without Nancy being found is another day her pacemaker operates without clinical monitoring. And the medical team advising the FBI has made very clear that this timeline has medical as well as investigative significance. What law enforcement will not say publicly, and why? I want to spend a moment on the FBI's deliberate public silence about the pacemaker data findings, because I have heard frustration from viewers about why investigators are not being more transparent about what they know. The frustration is understandable. 68 days, and the FBI has not stood up at a press conference and said, "Here is what the pacemaker told us. Here is what we know happened in those 41 minutes. Here is what the cardiac data shows." The reason for that silence is simple and important. Every piece of information that law enforcement discloses publicly about their evidence and their investigative findings is information that the person or people who took Nancy Guthrie also receive. Every press conference is also a briefing for the suspect. Every evidence disclosure is an opportunity for someone to destroy remaining evidence, change their behavior, or prepare a counter-narrative for a future legal defense. In a case where the primary suspect or suspects are still at large, where the investigation is active, and where the victim may still be alive, the calculus around public disclosure is extremely conservative. You do not disclose what you know. You do not disclose how you know it. You do not disclose what you are looking for or where you are looking. Because any of that information in the hands of the right, wrong person could end the case before it ends. The FBI's silence on the pacemaker data specifics is not a sign that they found nothing. It is a sign that what they found is significant enough to protect. Investigators who handle a piece of evidence carelessly in the public sphere do not get a second chance. The FBI is not being careless with the pacemaker data. They are being precise, methodical, strategic. And every day that they maintain that strategic silence is a day they preserve the investigative advantage that Nancy's own heart gave them. The comparison. Cases where cardiac data changed everything. Let me give you some context by talking about how cardiac device data has been used in other major investigations, because this is not unprecedented territory. And the outcomes in those cases tell you something about what this data means for the resolution of Nancy's case. The Ohio arson case I mentioned earlier.
The name of this channel is Crime Views. That's what it says in the right-hand corner here. I don't think the guy even has a name. It's more anonymous.
Decided in 2018, was a landmark moment for cardiac forensics in American criminal law. The defendant claimed he was asleep when his house caught fire, and he narrowly escaped. His pacemaker data showed a heart rate and activity pattern during the time of the fire that was inconsistent with sleep and consistent with vigorous physical activity. The data placed him as physically active and moving during the exact period he said he was unconscious. He was convicted. In that case, the cardiac data did not identify the crime. Investigators already suspected arson. What the cardiac data did was destroy the alibi. It replaced a subjective human account with an objective physiological record that juries could understand and trust. In Nancy's case, the cardiac data serves a different but equally powerful function. There is no alibi to destroy because no suspect has been named publicly. What the data does in this case is reconstruct the crime. It fills in the 41-minute window that external surveillance could not cover. It documents the physiological reality of what Nancy experienced. It tells investigators not just that something happened, but how it unfolded over time. The arc of physiological evidence, the fear response at 1:47, the sustained distress through the middle of the window, the movement patterns consistent with transportation, and the sedation signature in the final phase, together.
And to be clear, there was no sedation signature. And if there was, we haven't heard it. Just keep that in mind.
Create a narrative of the abduction that no human witness and no physical evidence could have provided with the same level of physiological precision. And in a prosecution, that physiological narrative, explained clearly to a jury by a forensic cardiologist who can translate the data into plain language, is extraordinarily powerful. It is Nancy's own heart testifying to what was done to her. And that testimony cannot be cross-examined. It cannot be impeached. It cannot be claimed to be biased or mistaken. Her heart recorded what happened, and the FBI has that record. What will actually break this case open? Let me be honest with you about where this investigation is and what it would take to produce an arrest. Because 68 days is a long time, and I think you deserve an honest assessment of the path forward. The pacemaker data gives investigators a physiological reconstruction of the abduction and a constrained geographic search zone based on the movement data. That is significant. But physiological data alone does not produce an arrest. You need a suspect. You need to be able to place a specific person in that physiological narrative. The things that would connect a specific person to the pacemaker data and therefore break this case open fall into 4 categories. The first is the procurement trail for the sedating agent. If the cardiac data interpretation is correct, someone acquired a medical grade compound to use in this abduction. That acquisition happened somewhere. Through a medical contact, a dark web marketplace, a diverted prescription, a theft from a medical facility. The FBI is following that trail. And trails like that, in an era of pharmaceutical tracking and prescribing monitoring programs, are very difficult to erase completely.
The second is the cryptocurrency trail. The original $6 million ransom demand included a Bitcoin wallet address. That wallet is being watched. Every movement of funds is visible. If the actual kidnappers ever move or cash out from that wallet, the blockchain will record it and investigators will see it. The third is the DNA evidence that law enforcement mentioned in the early days of the investigation. Beyond the glove DNA that was traced and found to be unrelated, other biological material was collected from the scene. The analysis of that material has never been publicly resolved. When DNA results are being this carefully protected, it typically means they are meaningful and prosecution ready. The fourth is human intelligence. Someone knows something. Someone who is in a position to see, to hear, to be peripheral.
All right. But this video is about over. It's got 4 minutes left. But you want me to go to Jen Koffendorfer or Gavin Fish? Gavin Fish is pretty interesting. I like him. Have a great night dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh.
You know, there's something wrong. Smelling something foul. And it's that this case doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And I want to take a new look at the evidence in the Nancy Guthrie case to see if we might be able to eke out anything new, any idea of what happened to Nancy Guthrie. Police said in the beginning, it was Sheriff Nanos who spoke in the beginning saying, hey, we know why she was taken. We know that she was targeted. And he backtracked, he sidetracked, he got down on all fours in a crab style. The guy was just weird about how he discussed the case publicly. But I think from
So, Lori, who is Sleuth's intuition and what's going on? People mentioning sleuth intuition, but what is it? What is it about? I mean, are they making things up?
You can do is drive there, hike around, and do some fishing. That's it. But here, let's read this. Monterey Spike says this was a satanic sacrifice.
I mean, I know what you mean, Julie, but I mean, he's reporting what the news is in the space.
It's committed by my, in quotations.
And the interesting part about it is you could argue some of the Nancy Guthrie stuff can be considered a witch hunt as well, especially this video, apparently.
Family members. Nancy was killed for her Christian beliefs and to destroy her children, most especially Savannah Guthrie. Right? Anybody can just make up something, kind of random like that.
Yeah, but Julie, there's no confirmation in that at all.
All of this was planned more than 6 years in advance, right? It does seem very planned out. And it's outlined in September of 2019's Burger Chef cipher with an I. This also serves as a
Someone can phone in, but that doesn't mean they're telling the truth. I mean, what's the evidence they're telling the truth?
map to Nancy's dismembered remains, which will be found in Rose Canyon Lake. 3 plastic bags wrapped in netting and weighted down, deposited into deep.
This is what the person says. This was a satanic sacrifice committed by my quote unquote family members. Nancy was killed for her Christian beliefs and to destroy her children, most especially Savannah Guthrie. All of this was planned more than 6 years in advance and is outlined in September of 2019's Burger Chef Cipher. What? This also serves as a map to Nancy's dismembered remains, which will be found in Rose Canyon Lake. 3 plastic bags wrapped in netting and weighted down, deposited into deep water near to the dam under the light of a full snow moon. I mean, anyone can say that, but is it true? The only way you would know, I guess, is if you check that water, Rose Canyon Lake.
Water near the dam under the light of a full snow moon. February 1st was, in fact, a full snow moon. Here, let's pull up Rose Canyon Lake. It's very small. I think some YouTubers have already been out here kind of looking around. But boots on the ground aren't going to really help in this situation. We need professional searchers to, using sonar and dive equipment. It's about 44 feet. It's my understanding that experienced divers typically can reach over 70 feet. So this should be pretty easy. Also, this would be like a good opportunity for Nanos to kind of show some initiative, I think. Right, get his team together, grab some expert divers that are part of his group there, some fellow policemen, and go out there and just search, turn it into a photo op. Like, look, we're working. See, there's nothing there, guys.
And this is the thing, though. When you ask for the public's help, you get all sorts of quacks that come out of the woodwork, right? And they've probably had to go through thousands of just leads that were just nothingness, which is maybe one of the reasons why they were hesitant to open things up to the public. But hey, if they have nothing else, then what choice do you have? So can you truly afford to not look into some of these? Because this thing by Monterey Spike, is it plausible? Oh, some of it would make sense. Okay. Against Savannah Guthrie. Okay. I've been saying that the whole time, right? Now, under the light of a full snow moon, I don't know if that's a subtle implication of Annie and Tommaso, considering they're pagans. I'm not sure if that's what it means or not. I don't know. A satanic sacrifice. Is that what pagans do? I don't know if that's what they do. I don't think that is what they do.
How hard could it be to drive up to Rose Canyon Lake and get rid of this tip? If anything, it could be training for the dive team. It could be something to do. Oh, Sleuth, you're trying to waste the resources of the sheriff. They've already.
And truly, that's a very good point. I'm glad you said that, Julie. Julie says, in my opinion, if you have a legit tip, you go to FBI. Amen. And if you have a legit tip, why didn't they go to Nancy Guthrie and say, hey, Nancy, where's my $1 million? This is where it is. I mean, seriously, right? Wouldn't that be what you did? That's what I would think. But please remember to like the video out there. Likes are free. Leave your DNA in the like button. Spank the like button if you're feeling a little bit frisky. And make sure you say hello to the flock of black sheep in here. And Rooster is very correct. Everything and everyone is a suspect. Until ruled out, right? And the only person that can rule them out is the prosecutor. Remember that. Well, Okay, he called them, so we'll have to see.
Spent $1 million and have produced nothing. How about Nanos will finance it? We'll crowdsource it, right? We'll crowdsource it for you. You tell us, give us the bill. We'll crowdsource it. And if we can reach that mark, you promise to do it. It can't be more than $5,000 to send a team out there for maybe 2 hours, right? It's this tiny little lake. So the comment is basically stating that the bags were placed into netting, like wrapped in a net, probably tied, and then hooked to something weighted, probably like a bucket, a cement bucket, or a few. It looks like you can maybe walk out here or even just kind of walk out a little ways if you could and just throw it out. Or even walk out onto the dam. I mean, instinctually, we just want to ignore it, right? Oh, damn trolls. What are they doing leaving these stupid comments? Like, how evil. Or maybe they're just, sick, suffering from some issues. And they really believe what they're saying, but it just happens to be not true. So you would need to get permission to dive out here. I don't know how you would get a permit. You would have to go through the Forest Service. This information has been tipped in. I think I even sent it to Internal Affairs. And they sent it back. They're like,
But it's not live. We're not watching them live. But that is their live chat on the screen there.
it's illegal to dive out there or something like that. I was like, I know. That's why we're telling you to do it. 44 feet deep, extremely small, right? You could probably just maybe get into a small boat and just drop in right here. Maybe you don't even need divers, right? Just use some sonar and see if you see anything strange. Like a high-powered fish finder. See if anything kind of stands out. Hey, what's up? Pink chill. Sonar, definitely. Can you think you could do sonar from the edge of the water? Is there a way to just kind of dip a fish finder into the water from the edge? I think that would be legal, right? Because you're allowed to walk and hike around this area. You just can't, your body can't make contact with the water legally. So could you stick some kind of equipment into the water over here and kind of get a reading of this area? Nicole says, sorry for the caps. A YouTuber just posted a picture of 4 cops and a sheriff searching a wash. His channel is Nick ARP. What's up, Judy? The tip was this. Here, let me put it back on the screen. And this isn't the only one. I already had my own screenshots that were sent by members of the sleuth crew. They said, Sleuth, I know it's probably nothing, but you never know. Here, check this out. And it was the same individual saying similar things. Talking about the Burger Chef cipher of 2009.
And as far as this guy speaking, I have no idea how credible he is. We're just exploring here because there's not much else to go over. So I do not vouch for this guy at all.
19, and how Nancy was dumped in the Rose Canyon River. And it was a satanic ritual under the light of a full snow moon. So the poll question is, should we take these types of tips seriously? I find it hard to ignore. But then again, that's, that could be part of the design. Yeah, it's very sad. So I don't know what it would take to get some people out there with the proper equipment. I mean, it can't be that difficult, right? I think the hardest part would be kind of lugging all the shit out there. I'd be happy to help. All right, tell us how much to finance a dive team for 2 hours. Thinking you're not Monterey, I'll block you. Tell me about the Burger Chef cipher, please. It's killing me. Here you go. Use that link right there, Monterey. Call in. See, I just posted it. Hit that link. It happened a long time ago in Monterey, in old Mexico. I read the burger information. Sailor says he's in danger. Right. So should we be assuming we know what the porch guy looks like? We have $17 prosthetic beards.
Lori said that at 34-minute mark, there's a call, but I'm not seeing it.
Guys, we got somebody calling in.
There it is.
Doot, 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 doot.
He's in the building.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, who's this?
We got somebody calling in.
This is Monterey Spike. My name is Richard Nolet Jr.
He's in the building.
Can you hear me?
Hey, can you turn that off in the background?
This is Monterey Spike. My name is Richard Nolet Jr.
He's in the building.
Can you hear me?
Hey, can you turn that off in the background?
Yeah, we're echoing.
Monterey Spike. My name is Richard. Can you hear me?
Hey, can you turn that off in the background?
Yeah, just turn off the video in the background, and then we can.
And Justin, that is ultimately what I would think as well, is that any of this can simply be made up. Like, we don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what they say.
Talk. You there?
Hey, can you turn that off in the background? Yeah, just turn off the video in the background.
Yeah, just
You there?
Yeah, let me. Just a second, please.
Just turn off that.
Sure, take your time.
Okay.
What the heck is going on over there? I'm getting annoyed just listening to them.
So it should sound better now. I paused the video, right?
Yeah, you sound great. And you said your name was what?
My name is Richard Nolet Jr. I'm the half brother of the guy at the front door, at Nancy's front door. His name is Mike Nolet.
M-I-K-E?
Well, his full name is Michael, but he goes by the name Mike.
Mike.
So if this were the case, he should have gone to Nancy Guthrie and said, "Oh, it's my half brother. Give me my $1 million." Right? And if this also is legit, they should be in the process of seeking down this lead and following through.
How do you spell the last name?
N as in Nancy, OLE TTE.
Okay. Now, Richard, tell me what's going on here, buddy. Please help me understand.
Well, I was raised in a family that was really violent, but I thought was a heck of a lot more normal than this. A few years ago, I started realizing that my family is satanic and they're serial killers. And if I told you the whole story, you would never believe it.
Now, here's the one thing, right? So Howard Stern, he was the beginning of some of this back in the 80s and 90s. He would have troll callers all the time. There would be troll callers, and it was just like a free-for-all. But there was one troll caller that was actually a serial killer, and it was true. So it wasn't a troll. It was actually a guy who was truly a serial killer, and it was true. Check that out on YouTube. That's out there somewhere. There was a guy who called in. Everyone thought, oh my goodness, this guy's just a troll, just an idiot. But it turns out it was not. It was not a troll. It was a true story. Creepy. Creepy in retrospect.
Even this is a lot to believe.
Yeah, I mean, why should we believe you? I believe you, but why should the public believe you? This is extreme.
Well, I've been trying to contact law enforcement since the beginning of March, actually, and nobody, including law enforcement, will sit down and go with through the Burger Chef cipher with me. But it sounds so ridiculous. But the people that put it together made it sound really innocent and ridiculous, so that anybody that brings it up your credibility will automatically be put into question.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys want me to go to the Howard Stern one in a minute? This is a true story. A serial killer calls Howard Stern. Press 1 if you want to watch it.
It sounds far-fetched. How do we understand this? I love a cipher.
Well, I mean, I'll just get right to the point. I mean, if I'm going to be ridiculous, why not be completely ridiculous?
Yeah.
My father in the early 60s through the 1980s worked as a FBI and CIA, what they call a wet work man. He was a person who...
Okay, so we're at 3721. This guy might be full of it on this channel. We'll see. So, preamble. Oh, God damn it.
Sometimes I ask them if they think it's dangerous doing what they're doing, if they're worried about things, and they'll laugh it off, and that just pisses me off.
Right. And then you go ahead and you kill them.
Yeah.
Howard Stern Show, 1986 through 2005, was a popular radio show that was beloved for its dark humor, real hot takes, and over-the-top segments. But on the morning of August 13th, 1997, listeners were left feeling disturbed when a man wanting to go by the name of Clay called into the Howard Stern Show. Clay admits to having killed more than 12 prostitutes in the New Orleans area. Doubtful about the whole thing, Howard and his co-host Robin begin to ask Clay a series of questions.
All right, I got a guy on the phone who claims he's been killing prostitutes and he's wondering why he's doing it. So maybe he thinks I have an answer. Is this Ed? Ed?
No, this isn't Ed.
Oh.
You haven't killed any prostitutes?
No, I never said my name was Ed.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What name do you use?
You can call me Clay.
Clay?
Clay?
Yes, Clay. Okay, Clay. So what happened? How many prostitutes have you killed?
12.
And you're wondering why you do it?
I have a pretty good idea.
Why? Did your mom beat you? Did your mom spank you?
Was your mom a prostitute?
No. Actually, nothing like that.
What is it then?
I think I just do it for the sense of the power.
Right. Do you have sex with them first?
Yes, and
then what, you strangle them?
Once.
How else did you kill them?
Well, a few times, actually, most times with a hammer.
And where do you do this primarily?
I've done it twice in a parking garage, and then the rest of the times on the side of the road.
And you're from the New Orleans area?
Yes.
And what are you? You beat them to death with a hammer?
But Miss Kim, this is a true story, by the way. So this is not a troll. This is real.
Man.
That usually only takes once, and
Dude, you got to have a lot of anger in you.
yes.
And that means you're heartless. You used to kill small animals?
So ChatGPT says this isn't real? Oh, then everyone's fooled by it then.
No, I've killed a rat.
Yeah. Dude, you're a serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you get away with it, I guess, because they're hookers, and so far nobody's... What?
Is this Howard?
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
I didn't know this was Howard.
Yeah, it's Howard.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've never killed a kitten.
So how old were you when you killed your first woman?
16.
And you must be a powerful kind of guy, big guy.
I wasn't then.
Right. And when you killed your first one, did you go in there knowing you were going to kill her, or it just sort of happened?
I knew I really had it planned out. You know, I wanted to do the whole sending clues.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Are you in?
I'm looking it up right now, Mace, and it's not confirmed whether it's a troll or not.
Baffle people, but it turned out no one noticed for a long time.
Right. Like you killed her on the side of the road?
Her, that was the parking garage.
Okay. And then what'd you do with the body? You dumped that somewhere?
Yeah, actually, I think she's probably one of the ones that they found.
So there's definitely still debate to this day whether this is real. There are some people who think it was just one person that was killing prostitutes in the 90s. Other people are convinced it's a hoax. But there's no confirmation one way or the other.
Yeah.
But let me ask you something. You were sending clues that you were going to do this?
No, I was.
He was going to
doing that.
He was going to leave like a note for the newspapers, and
But you decided not to.
He didn't want to be famous or draw attention to himself. But the problem is,
that's what I wanted to do. But
but you did, but no one noticed the clues.
I never sent the clues. I never left anything. You know, I wanted to have my own little signature.
Right.
I wanted to thumb paint
with
their thumbs.
Oh, really?
What do you want to do?
Thumb paint with their thumbs.
Thumb paint what, though?
I don't know.
Oh, anything. It was in a comic book a couple of years ago. Just seemed like a good idea.
Like you take the girl you killed, you dip her thumbs in paint, and then you do like a thumb painting?
Yes.
On a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Now, after you kill somebody, do you play with the body?
Actually, the closest I've ever done to that is I always make sure I pay them and I make sure they keep their money.
Oh, really?
When they're still alive, but with one of them, I did put the money in a compromising place.
I see.
But this one, you know, it had a penis.
Oh, really?
It was a guy.
Yeah, I didn't know at first.
So do you ever get, do you think the reason you're so angry is because you were abused or something?
No, I wasn't abused, Howard.
Where's your family?
You got a wife?
I mean, you got a mom, a dad, a wife, children. You got any of that?
I've got a couple of kids, but
no wife.
Not married to the mother.
You're a white guy?
Yeah, Howard, that's pretty funny because the only suspect they had when they started finding the bodies was a black police officer.
Oh.
So I'm reading through things on Reddit about it. It is certainly there's certainly debate to this day because there's multiple people killing people in that time frame. And they just don't know. It's like this one person says, let's see. The FBI came out and said he had credible information, not publicly known about the murders, so I think it's definitely real and really sick that they never caught him. That's one thing. And it's like, again, it's interesting. You never know, Laura. You never know.
Turns out one of them was associated with them.
Oh, really?
Are you on drugs?
I've done acid a few times.
So,
but nothing heavy.
So after you killed the first 60-year-old, like you finished. You finished.
No, I was 16.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
She was.
All right. So you finished with your sexual gratification, and then you.
Not always, no.
Not always.
So there's speculation it's Russell Elwood, because he's not from the New Orleans area. He came from Ohio originally, and then moved to New Orleans after high school. Interesting.
You don't even want to get laid sometimes.
No,
You just want to kill.
I'm just bored.
Right.
But does the killing sexually satisfy you in some way?
I can't believe Ed McMahon's not laughing.
I've eaten off thinking about it later.
Yeah.
What do you say?
That's about it.
He's pleasured himself thinking about it later.
Oh, he has. Okay. Now, how far apart are these murders? Like, do you murder and then, like, you feel satisfied for a while?
I don't even understand why I do it, Howard. I don't know if I ever get any satisfaction.
But how?
Shadow says, if you find this interesting, remember to hit the like button. So press 1 if you think this is a true thing. It could be real. Because there's still debate to this day. There are people that think it is, and there's people that think it's not. But which one do you think it is?
The closest together anywhere was the same night.
Really?
You killed 2 people in the same night?
Yeah, but I went to Mississippi for the second one.
So there's no pattern to how many weeks or days between murders?
No.
Are these mostly white chicks or black chicks?
A fair number of them have been black. The transvestite was black.
You think there's some racial motivation here?
No, Howard. They were just, let's just say a Jimmy Swaggart town.
Jimmy Swaggart town.
Don't know what that means.
Me neither, but...
That's pretty much the area around here where the prostitutes all hang out.
I see.
And it's just whoever comes up to you. You don't pick a certain type?
I don't even approach them. I wait for them to approach me, Robin.
So that's like them asking for it.
Do you ever, like, look into their eyes and go, gee, these people were just children at one point, and maybe they just had a tough life?
I've let a couple go.
You have? Like, what happened? You're in the middle of killing them, and then they what do they say? Why would you let one go and kill the other?
There was this one.
Go ahead.
I think she was probably really new to it.
Yeah.
There was just something about her. Maybe she reminded me of my ex-fiance, but...
Right. You somehow relate...
More of an innocent quality.
You somehow felt bad for her.
Yeah.
So you killed your first woman.
When was the last time you killed?
It's been a few months.
Right.
Actually, it's been going on a year.
So what do you think you're going to do? Do you think you're going to kill yourself? Do you think that
Are you going to kill again?
Can you stop this?
If I killed myself, I'd miss the next Batman movie.
Right. You don't want to do that.
No.
No, but in all seriousness, I mean, do you think that you can control this? Do you think you can stop?
I think I have been.
Oh, you have been for the last couple of months?
A year he hasn't killed.
Oh, a year?
Yeah.
Almost.
So why do you think you stopped killing all of a sudden?
I really don't know, Howard. Part of it had to do with my car broke down.
Oh, no transportation.
Seriously? That's the reason?
Well, that was the reason for a month, but after that, I guess it was all self-control.
Wow.
So you don't...
And there was a point in the Reddit thread I was reading where it said that would be like such a ridiculous thing to make up if you're making up a story. Oh, your car broke down. So they said that part sounded plausible. Like, oh yeah, the car broke down. Just a very practical reason why it stopped for a time.
I don't want to do this anymore.
No, he wants to do it, but he's controlling himself. Like, you want to kill women, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And what do you like? Do you enjoy seeing them struggle as you kill them?
Actually, none of them really struggle.
Do you hit them from behind, or do they see it coming?
I can't get inside their minds, but let's just say I hit them.
But, I mean, are you facing them?
Yeah.
Oh, so you can see their face and everything when you do it.
Yeah. The worst I've ever gotten was one tried to grab my neck. I've never gotten any of the claw marks or anything that are dead giveaways.
1997, this was.
Right, you must be very powerful.
I wouldn't call myself powerful, maybe intimidating.
Why did you use a hammer? You think you...
Because it was in a book I read.
Oh.
Well, everything's come from
Cartoons
somebody
and...
else.
Yeah. When's the last time you got laid?
Last week, Howard.
Oh, yeah, so you didn't kill that girl?
No.
Because she wasn't a hooker?
No.
Right.
It's only hookers, though.
A lot of serial killers are only into hookers because they know, A,
Easy.
probably won't get caught, and B, they have some kind of anger toward hookers. So there's no way I'm going to talk you into giving yourself up or anything, right?
No.
I shouldn't even waste my time. I know I'm going to get calls after this, and people are going to go, Howard, how come you didn't catch him?
Has anybody ever been close to catching you?
No. No. Actually, someone, once when it was in the newspaper, someone joked to me, I know it was you, but, well, they were joking.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of tattoos?
I don't have any tattoos. I wouldn't do that to myself.
Right.
And do you get high before you do this?
I've gotten pretty drunk before.
Yeah.
I'm the only guy am I the only guy you ever told about this?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess that's sort of an honor.
I've told a couple of women, Howard, but
they're dead.
Yeah. Do you tell them first and then you kill them?
Yeah.
What do you say to them? Let me. All right. Let's
Every
see.
now and then you can play the running game if you're out in the middle of nowhere, and we got a lot in the middle of nowhere down here.
Right. So, in other words, let's say you're with a woman, right? A hooker.
Yeah, Howard.
And you say to her, okay, honey, you just had sex and everything. What do you say to her to torment her? How do you break the news to her that she's going to die?
It really depends on my mood.
Just give us an example.
Well, if I wanted to, I could just say Baba Booey, but that would be pretty,
No, come on, be serious. What do you say to him?
Be serious.
I can say you're going to die.
And then what do they do?
I like to articulate a little more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I ask them if they think it's dangerous doing what they're doing, if they're worried about things, and they'll laugh it off, and that just pisses me off.
Right. And then you go ahead and you kill them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
According to Howard himself, the day after Clay's call aired, the FBI had contacted Howard and asked for a copy of the recorded tape. Ooh. Oh, motherfuckers. No further mentions of the call had been brought up by Howard or his team since then. There are only a handful of internet forums discussing who the caller might be, but to no avail yet. Clay's true identity remains unknown to this day.
And now,
how about that? Disturbing events on live TV. I've got a story about a disturbing event on live TV. And it's a cool story how I learned about it too, by the way. So back in my drinking days, when I drank much more and was more of a bad boy, I was dating a girl that worked at a strip club. And I would go to the strip club, but one of the shot girls really liked me. And we would drink and have fun together and do whatever. But we never slept together or anything. But one day she said to me, Jared, if you want to know, because she was engaged to be married, the shot girl. And she said, Jared, if you want to know me, listen to this song. So she writes down a song, Filter, Hey Man, Nice Shot. And I was like, I wonder what this could be. So I look up the song and I look up the meaning of the song. The meaning of the song is wild. But really what I think it was, the first lines of the song were, I wish I would have met you, but now it's a little late because she was engaged. So I was like, that makes sense if you like me. But the beginning of the song was, the meaning of the song is, it's from Filter, and it was about Bud Dwyer. ending his own life on live TV. This happened in 1987. And this was actually on YouTube for years, by the way. You can see it. You could see it, not anymore, of course, but you did up until about 8 years ago or so. You can see Bud Dwyer ending his own life, because what happened was he was getting convicted of some charges, but if he ended his life before he went to jail, his family would still get benefits or something like that. That's why they say, hey, now, nice shot. Hey, man, nice shot. And so, but here's what you really realize, because he put the gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. You realize there's a massive difference between real violence and movie violence. Movie violence doesn't capture it. Real violence is a completely different thing, or real violence is a completely different thing that stays with you. I still remember it. I still remember it to this day, this video. Which part, Christy? Bud Dwyer ended his own life on live television. Brian. I believe that, Laura. Like I said, when I saw Bud, because there was blood running out his nose, like ickily. And it's like you just see the life is not in their face anymore. And that's what movie violence doesn't capture. It doesn't capture the lifelessness of your face. So that's the part that sticks with you. And that was on YouTube until not that long ago. There's also some pretty wild things. And for you true crime folks out there, which many of you are, look up One Lunatic, One Ice Pick. This was a guy that basically was using the movie American Psycho for inspiration, but he killed someone on camera. And that True Faith New Order song was on while he did it. And so now everyone thinks of that song when they hear that, or they think of that murder, I should say. And that was true. That was a true story as well. Luke, what the heck was his name? Luke Braca or something like that. Oh, I get it, Laura. I get it. Which mic guy? Cheryl, which mic guy are you referring to, Cheryl? Yeah, it was similar, Mace. The Bud Dwyer one was much more up close and personal, but Charlie Kirk was close. They was close to it, right? Whatever it was, underdog, and in fact, he was innocent too, actually. That was the other crazy part. I think he was innocent. You can look it up, though. There's interesting things. So that's like an interesting story of my life that I learned about that whole thing because of the shot girl at Delilah's. Jared, do you think all SAers are narcissistic, just wanting their selfish needs met? I would say very often. Very often. Is there exceptions? There could always be exceptions, perhaps, especially if there's substances involved, maybe. But very often they are, is what I would say. The one that said his family was serial killers. Oh, you mean on the sleuths, this video?
Who got rid of people that they wanted. If they wanted somebody to be shut up, he took care of them. And he was a professional killer, basically. In the late 1960s, he became one of the most well-known serial killers.
So again, this could be hogwash, but we're going to hear out all leads. Please remember to like the video, though. Likes are free. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat. And remember, super chats Great way to support the channel and get questions answered. Super stickers, same thing. And becoming a channel member or gifting channel memberships gives you access to the members only live streams. 8 p.m. Eastern Tuesday, tomorrow, will be the next members only live stream. And I'm thinking for that, we can go over like narcissistic abuse stuff, because that's something that a lot of people have questions about. So we can see.
Known but unknown, if that makes any sense to you, serial killers that the country has ever had. My name and his name, well, we share the same name, by the way. I don't know if I told you, but my name is Richard Nolette Jr. and he's Richard Nolette Sr. Back then he worked at Mare Island, and one of his nicknames was RR because our first and middle initials are RR. Anyhow, in the 1969, he sent his first cipher to the San Francisco Chronicle, the Examiner, and one other newspaper. It was sent in 3 different parts to the major newspapers of the San Francisco Bay Area. And together they formed his first cipher, which is called the Z408 cipher. Well, 4 years ago, after a dozen years of therapy, I basically saw my name in the middle of the Z408. But at that time, I didn't have all the keys to putting the whole puzzle together. I just saw that, wow, that's really unusual. My name is in the middle of the Z408 cipher. Well, sometime later, I was able to put all the puzzles together, all the pieces together to the puzzle. And in the fall of 1970, a year after he sent the Z408, the Zodiac sent something called the 13-hole punch card. The 13-hole punch card, in actuality, is it's a map. It's the coordinates to finding his name in the Z408.
So a cipher, core meaning, secret code or encryption system. A cipher is a method of transforming information so it can't be understood without a key. The message was written in a cipher. Algorithm used in encryption. In modern tech, a cipher is a mathematical process used to secure data, like passwords or messages. A person of no importance, figurative. Someone described as a cipher is seen as insignificant or having no influence. Example, he was treated like a cipher in the organization. And then 4, old usage, 0 or nothing. Historically, cipher could mean the number 0. So those are the 4 definitions of the term cipher.
Great cipher. And the way you find it is the 13-hole punch card is set up with 2 rows of holes, like holes that were punched in the side of a card. And there's more to it than that, but the main point is these 13 holes are set up in the fashion in the shape of a trapezoid. Anyhow, he was one of the earliest members of something called the Order of the Trapezoid in San Francisco. That was a precursor of the Church of Satan, which he also helped to found, but he was the man behind the scenes. That would come in 1966. They call it the first year. Anno something. It's in Latin. But 1966 was the first year of the Church of Satan, and like I said, the Order of the Trapezoid was a smaller group that preceded the founding of the Church of Satan. Well, one of the reasons he put the punch holes in the shape of a trapezoid was to signify that, like, that's to pay homage to his little group that he belonged to. Anyhow, going back to the Z408 and how it pairs up in the second section, the central section, which is a second section of the cipher. If you go to the 3rd row down and the 10th, 3rd row down, and then the 10th column over from left to right, you'll find an upside down T symbol. That upside down T symbol represents the mathematical symbol for perpendicular, which in mathematics is drawn out in the form of crosshairs. And that is a symbol, one of the symbols of the zodiac is the crosshair symbol. Well, at that position is where the spelling of his name, which is also my name, begins. And it is spelled out beginning at the upside down T. It's spelled out in the shape of a smoking pipe, which is supposed to be Aleister Crowley's smoking pipe. Okay. It's a very simple.
Aleister Crowley used to have magic battles in the 1900s. And Ozzy Osbourne has a song, Mr. Crowley.
Shape. It's just an upside down triangle, which goes in clockwise fashion and comes back to the starting position, which is once again that upside down T. And then the last four letters of our name is spelled out from right to left, beginning at the upside down T symbol. It'll just say ETTE. But if you go up, you start at the R. You can find all this information on the zodiacciphers.com and compare it. If you just look at the completed Z408, all of this will pair up to what I'm telling you right now.
Can you email this to me? Because I've been trying to kind of follow up with it and find it.
Well, I mean, you can find it on the internet. It's Richard Grinnell. He's a guy from England.
So I forget. Did he say his stepbrother or brother was the guy on the porch? I can't remember which he said. But from how he's talking, I don't know. I feel like the people who did this, I don't know, they seem more competent than this guy sounds. Now, granted, it's not him that did it, according to him, but still.
Put all of this together.
And that's not you?
No. He's much more dedicated. I don't know. I guess I've been really dedicated the last 4 years, but he's been doing this for many, many years, and he's like the source. He has all of the original copies of all the original letters and all of the ciphers. Everything is on there. But as far as I know, I'm the only person that's ever solved all of this. I've got about 12 to 15,000 hours into doing all this over 4 years.
Well, you don't sound like you're on drugs to me.
Well, I'm nervous. The last thing I was expecting today was I'm thankful that you caught on to my letter there, because I've been trying to reach out and get a hold of somebody before something happens to me. But I was shocked, and I'm the type of person that my whole life I've been like when I was a kid, there's a huge amount of trauma in my life, and one of the ways I survived was.
So Reagan, you're saying that the pacemaker is not going to send data to any kind of cloud, whether it's Metatronics or Medtronics or the other two companies. There's going to be no heart rhythm data on that in some kind of cloud. You're saying it has to be downloaded?
It's basically disappearing and being completely silent and invisible, if that makes any sense to you, as a kid. Mm-hmm. And as an adult, I'm not an unintelligent person. I graduated from UC Davis and I have my degree, but I quickly found out that I have major problems with authority figures, and the only thing I've been able to do in my life has been having businesses of my own. But I'm really uncomfortable doing something like this, is what I'm trying to get to, you know?
No, I'm glad that you're doing it. You sound like you're really in the background. You seem like you might be scared.
Well, I'm scared, but I'm also, I don't like, you know how a lot of people, especially YouTubers and stuff, like I'm the total opposite of somebody that seeks out attention. I try, like I have a 110 pound American bulldog, and him and I pretty much have hang out and have our own little, I don't know. I don't want to say Ted.
So chat, what do you think? Is this guy legit or is he full of it? Press 1 if you think he's legit. Press 2 if you think no, he's full of it.
Is Ted Kaczynski cabin, but we just like
hermit life.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. We have a hermit life, and I watch a lot of YouTube, and just pretty much stick to myself. I hang out with my dog, take him for a walk a few times a day, and I don't know. If I make it, like, knock on wood, please God, I hope it happens. But in July I'll be 55, but there's a lot of, because of the trauma, there's a lot of me that is.
This guy's 55? He doesn't sound like he's 55.
Still stuck in that damaged little boy sort of frame of mind. I don't know how to explain it, but
childhood trauma takes away things that could have been. This peace that's within seems to disappear when bad things happen with children.
Oh yeah, and I don't want to get too graphic, but it was some of the worst. And for the first, I've done like 14 years of therapy, and I still cannot recall a majority of the first 11 years of my life. So I had to check out to survive, to survive mostly my dad, the Zodiac, but anyhow.
Tell me how this leads us to Nancy right here. All this information that's in this comment. You talk about dismemberment, nets, and all of that. I mean, it sounds like it could be legit here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Well, all of my work on the other ciphers came into play when this Burger Chef cipher came up. I wasn't even going to pay it any attention. It looks like such a silly little puzzle. It looked like really insignificant to begin with. And the only reason I've been able to make any progress on the Burger Chef cipher, it's really, it looks so simple, but it's so deceivingly complex. Like, you have no concept of how difficult.
I mean, what happens is when law enforcement has no promising leads, no arrests, no suspects, people run wild with theories. And it gives people an opportunity to come up with some theories and invent them in some cases.
This puzzle has been to break. The only other one that compares to it is something from 1998 called the Scorpion cipher. And in the Scorpion cipher, I'll just share it with you. You're probably not going to believe it, but the Scorpion thank you. The Scorpion cipher lists out the highlights of my brother and my father. I call him my father, but that's another story, by the way. Before I share what I was going to share, let me just share my about 14 months ago, I had worked on the Scorpion cipher for thousands of hours at that time. And I was shocked to discover that I am not the biological son of the person that I'm named after. I'm actually the biological son of one of my mother and father's victims, a man from South Lake Tahoe by the name of Dr. Charles Hollingsworth, who disappeared from South Lake Tahoe City on October 26th of 1970, and I presume that was the day of my conception. But
and that's something we can look up, is the Charles Hollingsworth case, 1970.
Yeah.
Yes, folks, remember to like the video. Likes are free. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat, of course. Great group of folks. I wonder how long this call is.
Yeah, you can definitely.
Guys, look that up. Hold on real quick. Guys, will you look that up for us and get back to us? Sorry about that, Richard.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for letting me talk, though. So up until 14 months ago, this is crazy. Like, just imagine, like I said, I'm going to be 55 years old if I make it to July. Just imagine thinking that, like, trying to come to grips with the fact that your father is a serial killer. And then out of the blue, you find out, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. Like, after thousands of hours of work, I've found out that, like, I don't know.
I mean, what you can say is it's worth exploring it. Explore the lead, but until something is confirmed, then it just doesn't mean much. But explore it. Explore it is what I would say.
I guess it's a good thing not to be like a full-blooded serial killer, but in a way, my mother is a big part of this whole operation herself. It's a family operations. I'm trying to explain to you guys that all of my family members, my brother, my nephew, my father, my mother, and even my distant relatives, my dad's brother, and possibly his family in Prattville, Alabama. Everybody is involved in this, and they have been since the 1960s. Like, this goes beyond a little family secret, you know? So I guess I've shared that part. I'll go back to the Scorpion cipher. The Scorpion cipher was sent to the host of America's Most Wanted in the late 1990s, I believe. Well, he was sent multiple letters and ciphers throughout the 90s, and what it culminated in was something called the S5 Scorpion cipher. And on the surface, it doesn't look like much. It's only there's 12 lines wide, 12 wide, so there's 12 columns, and there's 15 rows plus a wild card, which is the scratched out 14 down is the wild card. And it really doesn't look like much, but right now I have over 10,000 hours into trying to solve that little puzzle. And I'm pretty confident that I don't have all the answers in that puzzle. There is so much, there's layers upon layers upon layers hidden in this, you know, it just doesn't look like much on the surface, but there's layers and layers and layers. And
who's the author?
I believe that my father was the main author. My uncle and my brother may have had some input into it, but the main cipher maker is the man that I'm named after. And he doesn't go by Richard. He goes by Dick. That's the name he goes by. But anyhow,
so did you grow up and you're familiar with these types of ciphers and
no,
creating them?
No, I mean, the only thing that I remember from my childhood is that he had his favorite numbers, and by the way, they're satanic numbers like 6 and 666 and 36. And but there was no mention of ciphers before don't answer your question completely. Ciphers or anything related to the Zodiac was never mentioned as far as I can remember. But by the way, I don't want to get off topic, but I do want to point out that Rose Canyon Lake, where they put Nancy's body, is exactly 36.6 miles from Nancy's front door. And in their world, a big part of their world is numbers and alignments and
and that would be interesting if it's 36 point something miles from Nancy's front door to this position at Rose Canyon Lake. Maybe.
You call it like when I guess alignments is a good word, but there's other words for it. But anyhow, the number 36
like stars, the alignment of the stars and things like that.
Yeah, well, like the full moon.
As above, so below.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And thank you for saying that, because even in the ciphers, that's reflected in all of their ciphers. The top works along with the bottom, and the left works along with the right, because one of the descriptions for this, there's different forms of Satanism that they've practiced, and one of the general descriptions is called the left-hand path. And anyhow,
so Rammer, your update is this guy claims to be the half brother of the guy on the front porch in the Nest Cam, and it's like he's saying he comes from a family of, I don't know, his dad's a serial killer or something. And he wrote this in the back here: this was a satanic sacrifice committed by my quote unquote family members. which makes it sound like a cult. Nancy was killed for her Christian beliefs and to destroy her children, most especially Savannah Guthrie. All of this was planned more than 6 years in advance and is outlined in September of 2019's Burger Chef Cipher. Never heard of it. This also serves as a map to Nancy's dismembered remains. It's like for National Treasure Hunt, wherever the hell that Nicolas Cage movie is, which will be found in Rose Canyon Lake. 3 plastic bags wrapped in netting and weighted down, deposited into deep water near to the dam under the light of a full snow moon. That's the update.
That's reflected in the cipher with it communicating from left hand to right hand. So everything is set up on a grid system. So like in the Scorpion cipher, there'll be 12, it's 12 wide and 15 tall, plus the wild card on line 14, which is scratched out, but is sometimes used and is sometimes not used in the wild card fashion. But if you just imagine a grid pattern, all of the characters in all of these ciphers, whether it be the Burger Chef or the Scorpion cipher, each character falls on a set of coordinates. And basically, if you put numbers, for like the Burger Chef, it is 17 from left to right and 20 from top to bottom. There's no wild card in the Burger Chef. Basically, you can number 1 through 17 from left to right, but you also have to number 1 through 17 from right to left. And the same applies for top to bottom. It'll be 1 through 20 from top to bottom, and then 20 to counting down to 1. Do you get what I'm saying?
Is that why you believe this was created in 2019 and it took 6 years for them to plan this and come to fruition?
No, I mean, the actual publication date is on where you find it online. It'll show you the date right there. It was published in September of 2019. So it's not up for question or speculation. It's on.
I'll tell you, this true crime community, and more like the creators, you see some wild stuff in here, right? I mean, you go down the JLR rabbit hole, that's some wild stuff down there. And wild stuff down this rabbit hole. I mean, not the main ones, right? Not as much Brian Etten, Ashley Banfield, Law and Crime Network, Tony Bruschi. Not as much them. But the other streamers, I guess to which I would be included in that group now, you find some wild stuff, don't you? There's some wild stuff around here.
You can find it online, and it was published in 2019. And 2 of the reasons that they published it in 2019 was the 50th anniversary of the man that I called Dad, Dick Nolette. His hooded attack at Lake Berryessa occurred in September 27th of 1969, and September of 2019 marked 50th anniversary. But that was only part of the story. I recently found out that the form of Satanism that they belong to most recently is something called the Temple of Set. And the Temple of Set was founded by one of, sorry if I call him my father, I might fall back to that because in my brain I still equate Dick to being my father.
Sure.
But anyhow, Dick was one of the original founders in the background of the Church of Satan, and Anton Zandor LaVey was the front man, and he was a really personable guy and really did a lot for increasing the membership in the Church of Satan. But my father was the real deal. He was the killer in the background. Anyhow,
real quick,
yeah.
Before we get too far, if FBI is listening right now to our conversation, how can they find Dick and Jack right now?
Well, you mean Dick and Mike?
Or yeah, Dick and Mike. I'm sorry.
Well, Mike lives at the family house in Napa, California. It's the second house on the right on Heather Lane. It's 4012 Heather Lane. And I've been in contact with the sheriff. I've been in contact with the FBI. I've been in contact with even the detective from Pima County, who was too lazy to write out the cipher. Like first day I called him and I told him to follow along with all of this. Like, would you be all right with just copying all this into a piece of graph paper, like, into the little squares? And he said, yeah, no problem. And he called me back the next day, and he didn't do that. But part of it was part of the conversation went south the second day because I got sidetracked and started talking about some of the things in the Scorpion cipher, which I should not have done. I got distracted, and the more I talk about this stuff, the more unbelievable and more far-fetched. Like,
I mean, that's the thing, though. You talk like this and you let him go for a while, it becomes harder to believe. But if you keep it simple, I think that's the kind of lead they're going to pay attention to. Like, hey, I think it was my half brother on the porch. This is who it is. Why don't you go check it out? You can get into this satanic sacrifice stuff later. But first things first, right? Keep it simple. That's going to be the way that you're most believable, in my opinion.
It's a pretty hard. It's a pretty difficult story to believe,
Well, there's a lot of people out there that they think you're just kind of making it up, but I'm listening to you because there's two ways that this could be true. One is that it could be true and it's a fact, and the other way is that it could be true in your own mind.
Oh, so yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like the guy in Fight Club, or the or what was it, Kevin Spacey in what was it, K-Pax, the movie?
Yeah, both good flicks, by the way.
Yeah, but I've had I should be dead. Like, my shrink used to always tell me, I was with my last shrink for 12 years. She used to always just try to compliment me in amazement, like, how are you, basically, how are you still alive? Like, I've been through that level of trauma, and when you get put in, when any person's brain has to survive that kind of trauma, that kind of delusional, it can have that kind.
And that's something I hear a lot of people say, actually, that they'll say, my therapist said, I can't believe you're alive, or this is the worst story of abuse I've ever heard. And I've heard about 100 people tell me that someone has said to them, this is the worst case of abuse they've ever heard. And I was like, interesting. And so for me, I have heard many, many, many cases of abuse, and there's truly a couple of them that stick out to me that it makes me wonder, is it real? One of them involved parents selling their child into trafficking, and then, or like child predator rings. That one was one of the more severe ones.
Kind of delusional effect where, like, a person can make up their whole reality.
So you're saying it's possible.
Well, that's what I'm saying right now is that's when I share this story, that's what most people are going to think. Like, this guy, like this poor guy, like, he just needs to take a nap and take his pills,
Well, the only way to remedy that is to give law enforcement something tangible. What can we give them? Because it sounds like you really want Nancy to be found.
I do, and I want Nancy to be found, not just for the money, but the Burger Chef cipher out is a forecast for murder for 4 particular people. And as far as I know right now, at least 2 of them have already been murdered. And this year is a special year in the satanic calendar, especially for the person I called my father, because he's supposedly in not great health. He would be 84 years old coming up in May. And this year, because the year ends in a 6, the June 6th is you know how they like the 3 6s. June 6th is one of those quote unquote special dates in their calendar. But I feel like I'm not finishing some of my thoughts completely. Like, well, going back to why the Burger Chef was released in 2019, I don't know if I finished that thought. The number one reason was, like I shared, the fifth.
I mean, what happens is when you start sounding like and throwing out there far out things, people glaze over, and the law enforcement's going to be like, all right, they're going to dismiss him because they'll think this guy just sounds out of control. Now, granted, there are cults out there, that's for sure. Look at Jim Jones and what he did and where he took his followers into South America. Like, those things happen too. But I think to be believed, you want to keep it simple, direct, and to the point. That'll be the most likely you're believed.
50th anniversary of the Zodiac's attack at Lake Berryessa, which made him quote unquote infamous. The second reason was because on the 1st of September of that year, the founder of their church, their particular Church of Satan, which is called the Temple of Set, his name was Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino passed away on the 1st of that year, and all of the evil planned in the Burger Chef cipher is also in homage to their founder, which they call their father, Michael Aquino.
And Mike, does he have like a cleft lip or anything going on with his upper lip or anything like that?
Not that I can remember. No, you're talking about, we got to distinguish between Michael Nolette and Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino was the founder of the Temple of Set, who passed away on the 1st of...
No, Mike Nolette.
Yeah, Mike Nolette, no, but he does get his what do you call it? His eyebrows waxed and stuff like that. He's really particular about his grooming, and you know, that's another thing that's really pissed me off is everybody. They did, one of the reasons they committed the crime down there, and the reasons that they've sent the letters suggesting that Nancy was seen in Mexico. All of it is to gear it towards this being a Hispanic man that's committed this crime. And my fear is that, I don't know if you guys agree, but I've seen some of this in my life. My fear is that they're going to pin it on either some criminal or some random Hispanic person. They're just going to say, like, you know, oh,
is this Mike? Can you see the screen? Is that Mike there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't, to be truthful with you, Mike and I do not have a relationship, and we have not spoken in literally decades. So
it's only the ciphers that bring you to Rose Canyon Lake. You don't have anything solid or anything tangible.
Well, what
can we present?
Well, I can tell you that that's my brother at the front of the Nancy's thing, because.
So here he says his brother.
My father used to make us fight several times a week in the kitchen. That was the quote unquote entertainment in the growing up in the house. And I'd bet the house, my dog, everything on that being my brother, because a brother knows how a brother moves, especially like we've literally boxed for years of rounds. Okay. like
you just know it's him.
Yeah, I know it's him. And also, as you're showing the video, Mike has a former very bad neck injury and an injury to his right leg from a motorcycle crash that happened about a year and a half ago. His right hand is little bit deformed. If you see how it's like in a claw shape, and you see how
that's interesting.
And did you see how swollen his hand is? He has, I guess you call it neuropathy, because he's had bad discs in his bulge, like discs that should have been operated on years ago in his neck, due to being in a bad auto accident like 30 years ago, 20 or 30 years ago. Anyhow, at least in his right hand, you can see the effects, the neuropathy in his right hand from the damage in his neck. It's weird as you're showing this video too. In the family, they call him Bagger Mike, and I never they try to say it's because they ride Harley Davidsons, and I guess bagger is a kind of motorcycle or something. I don't know much about motorcycles, but they try to ascribe it to the fact that it's related to motorcycles. You have to understand, these people are sadistic beyond most people's ability to comprehend. Like, it goes way beyond even anything you've even seen in a horror film. Bagger Mike is an inside joke. Okay, bagger means it has to do with the dismemberment of bodies. He has been the bagger for decades. He's the bagger in the family. He's the person that likes to cut up human bodies.
Is that what's in that backpack?
I cannot say with 100% certainty. I would be lying to you if I said. I wouldn't bet my house and I don't own a house, but if I did, I wouldn't bet my house or my dog on it. But I'd say I'm 60 to 70% sure that a third of Nancy's body is in that backpack right there, because they had this attack on Nancy planned for over 6 years.
That sounds a bunch like a BS. He's saying 60 to 70% of her body is in that backpack. What?
One of Dick's sayings is, he always likes to quote unquote get his money's worth. And, I always attributed his violence towards me as just, like that he didn't mean it, because as a kid, you want to think that you have some sort of safety in your family. I didn't know what a sadist was. I didn't know what a sadist was until the last dozen years, maybe, of my life. Anyhow, it's only over decades that my brain has been able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And now I know when my father said, sorry, he's not my father, but the man I called my father Dick, when Dick would say, like, I'm going to get my money's worth. I had no idea, that he's a full-blown sadist, psychopath, and a serial killer. And anyhow, like, you have to really watch closely what these people joke about. And one of the things, like I said, one of their little jokes is calling him Bagger Mike. And I think my mind is in a little bit of shock, because on your video here, I have it muted, but it keeps replaying the backpack thing, and I'm like, it just makes me want to. Well, it makes me want to vomit, thinking that her, like, the third of her body, there's a very good chance that a third of that poor old lady's body is in that bag.
Yeah, I had that thought actually yesterday, and I didn't even say it on the stream. I was just trying to figure out what could have caused the blood spatter there, and maybe it was a bag, filled with body parts even.
No, not at all. They lost me on that part. Okay. On that note, I've had enough of that. Think about this. If they was dismembering someone, there's going to be signs. There'll be signs in the house. There'll be more than the splatters there on the front porch. That's what I would say to that. Check the lake, but that thing with the body parts, no, certainly not. Certainly not. But again, and that guy, he's entertaining it all, right? Why? For content, for business. And I contributed to it. But, check the lake, because why not? Check the lake, because why not? I heard someone say that, user, but I've not heard anyone confirm that. People were saying, oh, Annie and Tommaso were into BDSM. It's like, were they? I haven't heard any confirmations about it. But how could they have done it elsewhere? That was that night. I mean, it happens. I've seen those kinds of stories. People do make them up. Occasionally, people can be telling the truth, but people do make them up as well. It just is what it is. Also, Shadow says, please remember to like the video. We got to at least get to 200 here before I close this down. And we might move on to a different topic tonight. I know my buddy B would like me to talk about something different. But I got to try to get the views up. Got to get the views up for talking about something other than Nancy. I did pretty good on the Duggars, but even so. Oh, we're at 41K, Debbie? How about that? Thank you very much, everyone, for helping me get to 41K. Right on. I love it. Marky Wahlberg, back when Mark Wahlberg was Marky Mark, this is how we used to make the party start. With The Departed. Or Basketball Diaries, another 90s classic. You can say that again, Bella. YouTube didn't like it when I was talking about the Duggars, by the way. But I got a couple interviews I want to schedule coming up here soon, too. My friend from the UAE, is a psychologist. We should have an interesting conversation. She has a book out called Double Binds, which I think especially people from dysfunctional families will relate to. And then I wanted to get that person that converted from being a witch to a follower of Christ. I thought that was a pretty interesting transition, and I want to talk to her. Thank you, D. DD. I should say DD for you, because there's a single D, and then there's DD. But all right. I think that's about it, though, for tonight here. Which movie, Christy? Basketball Diaries? The Departed? There's single D, and then there's DD. D. Sandback. I got you, Bella. So I'm glad Bella, our surgical nurse, and Reagan, our forensics expert, are both here. It's good to have the expertise here. I like it. You have a great night, Tim. And Rooster, enjoy those beers, Rooster. You have a good night as well, Brenda. Laura, have a great night as well. Remember, folks, check out Anxiety Art Adventures. Check out Danielle's book as well on Amazon. Feel free to type that title again so people remember Danielle. So D and DD. And Jackie. And Yoland. The perp is a false amateur. That could be. Heather, have a great night. Christy, have a great night. Autumn and Autumn Elizabeth. Shadow has fallen. Oh no. Night has fallen, but not Shadow, Tim. Animal, you have a great night too, as well as Dana. And Snoop Baby. The path we chose, or the path we choose. Have no contact with brother or family, but know all about his health, can recognize him under a mask, but not an actual picture. Yes, good point there. Good detective work. Critical thinking work is really what I should say. Teresa, you have a great night too. Lori, remember, members only live stream tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you again, Debbie. User and Risk, you have a great night as well. Danielle, have a great night. Thank you for all of your support, everybody. Heather. Shadow flies around the room, then freezes when being watched. Yes. He's like Medusa. You watch him, he freezes. Right, Kev? Right. How about that, Autumn? I love it. There's nothing else. I can go back over that other first video from Crime whatever. But people were getting tired of him. Because he's my buddy, Snoop. Shadow's my buddy. We'll do some longer shows coming up soon too, don't worry. So, all right, everybody. You quit GF? What does that mean? You quit girlfriend? You have a great night, Underdog, as well. Thank you, Kev. Desert Dominion. We'll have to check that out, user. That's right, Snow Baby. Snoop Baby. Thank you for Miss Kim, to Miss Kim for modding. And to the rest of the flock of black sheep, you all have a great night.